Chapter 27. Feeling the crystal-clear lotus seed in the center of the green lotus, the fragrance in the air made him feel refreshed. This lotus seed actually has the effect of calming one's mind. Jun Haoyan was overjoyed. Then he eagerly plucked the lotus seed. Once the lotus seed was in his hand, Jun Haoyan felt his surging true essence instantly calm down. His true essence was no longer as violent as before, flowing through his body like a delicate stream. In addition, Jun Haoyan's state of mind also became exceptionally calm. Whoosh! But right at this moment, the sound of wind breaking rang out, breaking the silence at this moment. Jun Haoyan could not help but frown slightly. Jun Haoyan slowly turned around and saw several silhouettes rushing in his direction like sword rainbows. The newcomers all stared greedily at the lotus seed in Jun Haoyan's hand, not concealing the greed in their eyes at all. It's actually the green spirit lotus seed. Ha ha ha, Lu-san, am really lucky. I just entered the ruins and already encountered such a natural treasure. Green spirit lotus seed, this is good stuff. I remember that the green spirit lotus seed was recorded on the rare treasure list. The green spirit lotus blooms once every 100 years and bears a seed once every 100 years. The newcomers all crossed the void and looked greedily at the green spirit lotus seed in Jun Haoyan's hand. However, when they saw Jun Haoyan's appearance, they all revealed a strange expression. Who is this guy wearing a mask? Does anyone know him? I don't know, but he shouldn't be from any big faction. Everyone seems to want the lotus seed in my hand. Seeing the burning desire in the other party's eyes, how could Jun Haoyan not know what they were thinking? Slowly shaking the lotus seed in his hand, Jun Haoyan's tone was somewhat mocking. But in his heart, he secretly guessed that it should be the battle between him and the giant dragon that attracted these people. Hearing Jun Haoyan's words, the newcomers all looked at the lotus seed in Jun Haoyan's hand with excitement. When they looked at Jun Haoyan, there was a faint murderous glint in their eyes. Nonsense! That cultivator called Lu-san chuckled and said, Green spirit lotus seed. This is a rare natural treasure. But this natural treasure is not something that anyone can possess. What do you think? So this lotus seed is called the green spirit lotus seed. Hearing this, Jun Haoyan narrowed his eyes and played with the lotus seed in his hand. It was incomparably round and smooth, as if he was holding warm jade. What you said makes sense. However, this kind of heavenly treasure is not something that anyone can see. With that, Jun Haoyan slowly raised his head and smiled at Lu Sr. So kill yourselves. I promise to leave your corpses intact. Lu-san was stunned when he heard that. Looking at the gentle smile on Jun Haoyan's face, he felt like a pair of invisible hands had wrapped around his neck, causing his words to be stuck in his throat. Hee, where did this arrogant person come from? Lu-san looked at Jun Haoyan with a strange expression. Soon after, he said coldly, You don't seem to understand the situation you're in now? Hand over the green spirit lotus seed obediently. Otherwise die. If you want it, then come and get it. Hearing Lu-san's words, a harmless smile appeared on Jun Haoyan's face. His gaze was like a cat catching a mouse as he looked at Lu Sr., a group of true element first-level cultivators, and a true element second-level cultivator. Too weak. Lu-san was the one with the highest cultivation in this group. He was at true element second level. What a reckless fellow. Brother Lu, don't talk nonsense with him. Just kill him directly. A young rogue cultivator said impatiently. The instant he finished speaking, his figure shot towards Jun Haoyan, like an arrow leaving the bow. I want to see where you get the ability to play tricks. The rogue cultivator moved his feet, and his figure flashed. In an instant, he appeared right in front of Jun Haoyan. A blood-red long saber suddenly appeared in the young man's hand. Holding the blood-red long saber tightly, the young man directly slashed towards Jun Haoyan's neck. His attack was extremely ruthless. You're courting death. Jun Haoyan's eyes flashed. His hands stretched out like lightning and directly blocked the saber light that was slashing towards him. Under the young man's horrified gaze, Jun Haoyan easily caught the saber blade. Then, with a flick of his finger, the young man immediately felt a terrifying force coming from the saber blade. This force caused his wrist to go numb. The long saber in his hand immediately flew out of his hand uncontrollably. How is this possible? He can actually catch a white saber with his bare hands. The young man's heart turned cold when he saw this unbelievable scene. That saber move just now was his specialty. That saber move was powerful enough to split a mountain. However, this masked fellow in front of him actually caught it so easily and was still safe and sound. After Jun Haotian flicked the saber blade away with his finger, he clenched his fist and punched the young man's body at lightning speed. Crack! The sound of bones breaking suddenly rang out, and the clothes on the young man's chest were almost instantly torn apart. An incomparably fierce aura, like a real sharp sword, pierced through his chest, causing blood to splatter wildly, and his aura to disappear completely. This clean and efficient way of killing stunned Lu Sun and the rest. They did not expect that this skinny young man in white actually had such a terrifying physical body. What a terrifying physical body. No wonder you're so arrogant. Lu Sun frowned slightly. He had to admit that he had underestimated Jun Haotian earlier. Everyone, this fellow's strength is not weak. Let's join forces to kill him first before deciding who the green spirit lotus seed belongs to. How about it? Sure. After witnessing Jun Haotian's terrifying strength, everyone who had come came to a consensus. In the next moment, each of them held their weapons tightly and launched a fierce attack at Jun Haotian. However, Lu Sun was obviously slower by half a beat. He landed behind these cultivators with a mocking look in his eyes. A bunch of idiots. After you finish dealing with this fellow, it'll be the time of your death. Clearly, Lu Sun was planning to attack from the back, while these people were fighting with Jun Haotian. However, in the next instant, Lu Sun's figure stopped in mid-air, as if he was possessed. His eyes were filled with shock as he stared at the scene before him. The silhouette of an immemorial mammoth abruptly appeared behind Jun Haotian. Subsequently, a bone-chilling suppressive force tore through the sky, forming an incomparably dense gale that wreaked havoc towards Jun Haotian and the others at an extremely astonishing speed. The suppressive aura caused Lu Sun, who was at the back, to be unable to catch his breath. Lu Sun had never seen such a strange attack. He was just about to raise his fist and smash it forward when he saw the fierce attacks launched by the other cultivators collapse at the instant the suppressive force swept over. At the same time, numerous scarlet-red cracks spread out on the bodies of these people, and in the end, they transformed into countless pieces of flesh and blood that fell towards the lake below. Such a bloody scene caused Lu Sun to tremble with fear. He retreated without even thinking about it. He knew that he had kicked an iron plate this time. Instant kill. In just an instant, several true energy realm first-level cultivators were killed. This fellow is definitely a prodigy of some large faction. You want to leave just like that? Didn't you say that you want the green spirit lotus seed? Then stay. Jun Haotian's hearty laughter sounded in Lu Sun's ears. Lu Sun's pupils constricted abruptly as he saw a pair of slender and fair hands break through the wind. They stretched towards his neck like lightning. In the instant that he had yet to react, these hands had already grasped his neck. The surging aura on them caused his skin to feel a heart-wrenching pain. Chapter 28. The corners of Jun Haotian's mouth revealed a trace of an evil and charming smile as he looked at Lu Sun, who had an astounded expression. Even though Jun Haotian had a smile on his face, his eyes were icy cold. Today, if his strength was insufficient, then not only would he be unable to protect the Azure Spirit Lotus seed in his possession, he would even lose his life here. This world was like this. The weak were prey to the strong, cold, and merciless. Wait, don't kill me. Lu Sun instantly felt his heart go cold when he saw the gloomy intent in Jun Haotian's eyes, and his face went pale as he said with a trembling voice, "Don't kill me. I have a secret to tell you. I have a secret here that's related to the location of the inheritance of this ruin. If you spare my life, I'll tell you everything." The location of the inheritance of the ruin. Jun Haotian's right hand stopped when he heard this. Right, it's the location of the inheritance of this ruin. I know where it is. Lu Sun's eyes were filled with wild joy when he saw Jun Haotian's interest had been aroused, and he was like a drowning person grabbing onto a life-saving straw as he said with a hurried tone, "How about it? So long as you spare my life, I'll tell you the exact location of the inheritance." Jun Haotian was first stunned when he heard Lu Sun, and then he revealed a wisp of a cold smile. Do you think I'm an idiot? This ancient ruin has existed for a long time, and no one has ever entered it. Even the disciples of the Holy Lands don't know about it. How can a mere independent cultivator, like you, know the location of the inheritance? As he spoke, the corners of Jun Haotian's mouth revealed a wisp of coldness, and his fingers that were originally relaxed clenched tightly once more. When a suffocating force coiled around Lu Sen's neck once more, Chenxi only needed to exert a little strength to easily crush Lu Sen's neck. No, I'm not lying to you. If I lie in the slightest, then let me be struck by lightning. Lu Sen was instantly extremely flustered when he saw Jun Haotian didn't believe him at all, and he said with a trembling voice, "You entered the ruin much later, so you didn't notice it. When I entered the ruin that day, I noticed an ancient bronze hall floating in the void. This ancient bronze hall is slightly similar to the ancient bronze hall I saw in the outside world earlier. Ancient bronze palace." Hearing this, Jun Haotian frowned. He recalled the ancient bronze hall he had seen in the outside world. He stared at Lu Sen with a cold gaze, as if he wanted to see if the latter was talking nonsense. That's right, a palace. That palace is filled with an ancient aura. It's extremely similar to the aura of the ancient bronze hall outside the ruins. I'm guessing that the ancient bronze hall outside is a projection of the ruins. When he saw Jun Haotian looking at him with a questioning gaze, Lu Sen was deeply afraid that he would lose his life. Nonsense. There is no shadow of the ancient bronze palace in this world. Jun Haotian glanced at the void of the relic and sneered. He exerted a little force, and was about to break Lu Sen's neck. No, there really was an ancient bronze palace hovering in the sky earlier. However, after we entered, that palace turned into a ray of light and flew into the sky. Lu Sen was sweating profusely. He was complaining in his heart. This guy's patience is too poor. Jun Haotian said calmly. If there really is such a palace, why don't you go there? Why are you still at the edge of the ruins? Do you think I want to stay here? When the palace disappeared, I chased after it. I didn't expect to meet that bastard Jun Haotian. Lu Sen explained. That guy is crazy. He stopped us and killed more than 10 of us. He warned us not to enter the depths of the ruins. Jun Haotian also knows where the inheritance is. Hearing this, Jun Haotian narrowed his eyes and said coldly, "Since you know where the inheritance is, he definitely doesn't want you to spread it in the depths of the ruins." Which direction did the ancient bronze hall disappear in? Jun Haotian looked at Lu Sen coldly. At this moment he believed Lu Sen's words. The ancient bronze hall should only be seen by the first batch of people who entered. If there really was such an ancient bronze hall, it was very likely to be the inheritance of the golden-winged rock. Seeing that Jun Haotian believed his words, Lu Sen's face lit up. "If I tell you, will you let me live?" "Yes. You and I don't have too many grievances between us. Sparing your life in exchange for such an important piece of information, I think it's worth it," Jun Haotian said with a chuckle. He loosened his grip on Lu Sr. "That's good." Lu Sen's eyes were filled with the joy of surviving a disaster. He said urgently, "It went north. If you pursue it now, you might still have a chance to catch you." Before he could finish speaking, Lu Sen's pupils abruptly constricted as an extremely vast force pressed down on his neck, causing him to be unable to breathe. At the same time, he felt an incomparably sharp aura rushing into his skin. Finally, an incomparably sharp aura rushed into his body, tearing apart his meridians, and finally bombarding his heart, causing him to lose all signs of life. North. Looking to the north, Jun Haotian's eyes flickered as he considered the authenticity of this information. Regardless of whether what he said is true or not, the north must be filled with danger. But Jun Haotian is there. I can't go there yet. After witnessing Jun Haotian's strength, Jun Haotian felt a sense of danger. He was not sure if he could defeat Jun Haotian. As the son of fortune, Jun Haotian would not only show his strength on the surface. He must have a trump card. If he wanted to make a move on Jun Haotian, he must have overwhelming strength. There are many powerful ferocious beasts in this ruin. Maybe I can hunt them down and obtain their blood essence to break through. Jun Haotian let go of his hand and looked at Lu Sen's corpse. He took the storage ring from his hand, Storage rings were a unique spatial equipment in this world. Normally, only the disciples of the sects had them. There were records of storage rings in the ancient books of the Jun family. There were also records of how to activate a storage ring, drip blood to claim ownership. Thinking of the method recorded in the ancient books, Jun Haoyan used his true energy to squeeze out a drop of scarlet blood and dripped it on the storage ring. At this moment, a crisp sound came from the storage ring. It was as if some kind of shackle had disappeared at this moment. Jun Haoyan held the storage ring in his hand. He vaguely felt a blood connection in his heart. Amazing! Jun Haoyan's face was filled with amazement. He then used his divine sense to explore the storage ring. In the next moment, a space of about 10 cubic meters appeared in Jun Haoyan's vision. There were many miscellaneous items in this space. Obviously, they were all loose ends treasures. Jun Haoyan looked around. Most of them were herbs, ferocious beast flesh, blood essence, and beast cores. True energy stage ferocious beasts could condense beast cores in their bodies. The beast cores could help cultivators cultivate, and also assist in alchemy. After looking through the contents of the storage ring, Jun Haoyan casually threw out a ball of gold emperor incinerating heavenly flame. Then he turned around and headed north. As he headed north, Jun Haoyan deliberately provoked ferocious beasts. He didn't move very quickly, and deliberately released his aura to provoke the ferocious beasts around him. With Jun Haoyan's current strength, his aura was naturally not weak. The weaker ferocious beasts didn't dare to show themselves. Therefore, any ferocious beasts that couldn't stand Jun Haoyan's provocation and showed themselves were not weak. However, Jun Haoyan had the protection of the strength of the hell-crushing divine elephant and the support of the Dutian devil god incantation. His strength was invincible among ferocious beasts of the same level. Even some of the stronger ferocious beasts were easily killed by him. They were no match for him, and were killed without the slightest pressure. These ferocious beasts were mostly in the first or second stage of the true energy stage. The flesh and beast cores of these ferocious beasts were not enough for Jun Haoyan to break through. Just like that, Jun Haoyan slowly made his way through the invincible ferocious beasts for a day. On the second day, Jun Haoyan finally encountered a ferocious beast whose strength satisfied him. Chapter 29. This was a gloomy and vast forest. Roar. The deafening roar of a beast was continuous and mighty. At this moment, Jun Haoyan looked cautiously at the front of the dark forest with a solemn expression. There, an extremely oppressive ferocious beast pressure was rapidly approaching him. Swoosh, 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 swoosh. A strange sound approached. In the forest not far in front of Jun Haoyan, a thick blood mist suddenly gushed out. In the blood mist, there seemed to be a behemoth moving forward quickly. With the blood mist covering it, it was difficult to see its trajectory. However, this behemoth's pair of gem-like green eyes were extremely conspicuous. Looking at the vast blood mist and the gem-like green eyes, Jun Haoyan's true essence began to circulate rapidly. You're quite impressive. I'd like to see what you're made of. Looking at the pair of green eyes in the blood mist, Jun Haoyan's eyes flashed with a trace of coldness. Then, the Dutian demon celestial technique was fully activated. Boom! In the next moment, the monstrous blood sea appeared, and the 12 demon celestial phantoms slowly condensed. As soon as his voice fell, Jun Haoyan suddenly stomped on the ground and rushed toward the blood mist like a ghost. With a sharp sound of breaking wind, Jun Haoyan circulated his true essence and condensed it into a fist. Then, the 12 demon celestial powers behind him supported him. Imbued with the power of the demon god, the incomparably fierce fist imprint directly sank into the blood mist, flushing out an empty space in the blood mist. At this moment, Jun Haoyan finally saw the true face of the ferocious beast in the blood mist. Jun Haoyan looked at the ferocious beast in front of him solemnly and carefully observed. This was a ferocious beast that was shaped like a python. It had 2 horns on its head, and its entire body was scarlet red. Its enormous body was covered in countless savage and fierce scales, and as it wriggled forward, the air in an area of over 10 m surged. What kind of ferocious beast is this? It looks like a python but not a python. It looks like a flood dragon, but not a flood dragon. A hint of surprise appeared in Jun Haoyan's usually calm eyes. It was rare to see such a strange beast. Although Jun Haoyan had fused with the memories of this body, the Jun family was only an aristocratic family of the mortal world after all. The ancient records of the family were extremely limited, and not enough. Roar! Although Jun Haoyan's punch did not hit the python-like beast completely, it had angered it. Jun Haoyan's thin and weak figure was directly reflected in the green eyes of the python-like ferocious beast. It spat out its scarlet tongue and swung its giant tail, which was strong enough to tear apart a mountain, at Jun Haoyan. The scarlet light was like a waterfall. So fast. Seeing this, Jun Haoyan's expression turned serious. Then he spread his wings and easily dodged this tricky attack. Boom! The giant scarlet tail was like a whip that tore apart Jun Haoyan's afterimage and slammed into the surrounding trees. Suddenly, with a series of cracking sounds, the towering ancient trees in a radius of several feet collapsed. An incomparably terrifying force swept out, sending wood chips flying. Seeing Jun Haoyan dodge its attack, the python-like ferocious beast was naturally enraged. Its giant tail swung wildly at Jun Haoyan. Jun Haoyan spread his flame wings and moved at an incredible speed. The python-like ferocious beast could not hurt him at all. Clang! The golden flame wings flickered like fireworks in the void. Jun Haoyan's figure swept over the python-like ferocious beast like a ghost. At such a close distance, Jun Haoyan's mouth curved into a cold smile. Let's stop here. Boom! Strength of the hell-crushing god mammoth. With a thought, Jun Haoyan directly activated the strength of the hell-crushing divine elephant. The primordial mammoth slowly appeared behind him. In an instant, an extremely terrifying suppressive force fell from the ninth heaven like the Milky Way. On Jun Haoyan's right fist, a vast suppressive force gathered together, as majestic as the surging sea. In the next moment, Jun Haoyan's right fist came down violently, and a fierce murderous intent instantly filled the air. Clang! The sound of metal colliding pierced through the sky, and sparks flew everywhere. Jun Haoyan's right fist, which contained an unparalleled suppressive force, slammed into the python-like ferocious beast's head. Suddenly, the hard scales were directly shattered, and hot blood spurted out. Roar! The python-like ferocious beast's head suddenly suffered a heavy blow, and it immediately went crazy. Its huge tail was like a scarlet thunderbolt, wildly swinging around. Jun Haoyan's body was like a lonely boat in the raging sea. It seemed incomparably dangerous, but he always easily dodged the huge tail. The vast and boundless suppressive force madly poured down, enveloping the python-like ferocious beast. In just a few breaths' time, the python-like ferocious beast's body was covered in blood. Under Jun Haoyan's attack, the python-like ferocious beast could only let out an angry roar, and its huge tail madly swung around. In the end, it fell to the ground with a loud bang, and its huge body twitched violently. Looks good but is useless. Jun Haoyan somewhat coldly looked at the python-like ferocious beast's corpse, and suddenly thought of a risky idea in his mind. In the next moment, his true energy surged, and he punched at the python-like ferocious beast's abdomen. Boom! Suddenly, a bowl-sized bloody hole appeared in the python-like ferocious beast's abdomen. The pungent smell of blood quickly filled the air, and accompanied by the oncoming wind, the smell of blood spread in the boundless sea of trees. Jun Haoyan sniffed and raised his eyes to look at the turbulent sea of trees, and a trace of madness appeared in his eyes. If we're going to play, let's play big this time. Jun Haoyan's figure flashed, and in the next moment, he directly hid in the forest and disappeared. Slowly restraining his aura, Jun Haoyan suddenly felt that the ground under his feet was shaking violently, as if a huge monster was running. A burst of high-pitched ape cries suddenly sounded in the distance, shaking the mountain forest. Immediately after, several rainbow-like figures crossed the boundless sea of trees. They were several incomparably huge devil apes, and their bodies were covered in shiny golden iron hair. These devil apes crashed into the forest like cannonballs, and among them, the most burly devil ape directly grabbed the python-like ferocious beast and tore it into two halves, causing blood to splatter everywhere. It crudely gnawed at the python-like ferocious beast, its sharp teeth ignoring the python-like ferocious beast's hard scales. This scene surprised Jun Haoyan inwardly. He had seen the python-like ferocious beast's strength, and the devil ape in front of him was obviously much stronger than the python-like ferocious beast. At the very least, its huge arm, which was as thick as an ancient tree, could tear apart a mountain with its bare hands. Jun Haoyan restrained his aura and faced the devil god-like giant figure. Even he did not dare to face these devil apes at the same time. He held his breath, and his gaze turned to the dark and boundless forest in the distance, and muttered in his heart, "It's time for a good show." Chapter 30. In the gloomy forest, the cries of the apes pierced through the clouds, setting off monstrous waves of blood. These bloodthirsty and ferocious devil apes were obviously starving. They tore at the corpse of the python-like beast. Crack, crack. A series of bone-chilling sounds came from the dark forest. Jun Haoyan felt a chill run down his spine when he heard it. Soon, the ground was covered in blood, and the smell of blood drifted into the distance. At this moment, Jun Haoyan suddenly stared at a certain spot in the vast forest. There Jun Haoyan vaguely felt an extremely dangerous aura. Swoosh. At this moment, a lightning-like figure shot out from the dark forest. In an instant, it traversed hundreds of feet and crashed into the devil ape that was eating crazily. Bang! The devil ape was in the middle of eating and was caught off guard. Its huge body was knocked over. At this moment, Jun Haoyan saw the true face of the lightning-like figure that suddenly appeared. It was a giant silver crocodile. Its entire body was covered in a layer of soul-stirring silver scales. Moreover, the end of each silver scale was curved like a barb, causing one's heart to turn cold. Roar! The giant silver crocodile let out a deafening roar as soon as it came out of the forest. Looking at the devil ape that had yet to turn over, the giant silver crocodile opened its bloody mouth and bit at the devil ape's neck. The moment the silver crocodile opened its mouth, Jun Haoyan clearly saw a row of sharp teeth that were as sharp as swords. They were at least 2 meters long. Crack! With the giant silver crocodile's terrifying bite force and sharp teeth, the devil ape's head was bitten off by the giant silver crocodile. Immediately blood splattered everywhere. The devil ape's head that was the size of a boulder fell to the ground. Puff! Then, the giant silver crocodile's sharp teeth pierced the devil ape's lungs. Its huge body rolled, trying to tear the devil ape's flesh and blood off. Roar! At this moment, the other devil apes that were eating also reacted. They saw that the giant silver crocodile had killed their companion. Crimson light flashed in their blood-red eyes, and their snow-white fangs were exposed in their mouths. They madly rushed towards the giant silver crocodile. Screech! At the same time, a few high-pitched low cries suddenly came from the sky. Then an endless hurricane swept over, stirring up the clouds. Flocks of demon birds darted out from the clouds and mist, darting towards the boundless forest like shooting stars. Although these demon birds were not as large as the silver crocodile, they were still several feet wide when they spread their wings. The indestructible body of the devil ape was sliced into two like a thin sheet of paper by the sharp blade-like wings of the demon birds. Suddenly, a strong smell of blood spread out, choking the nose. In the gloomy forest, the roars of ferocious beasts were constantly heard. The entire earth seemed to be shaking. Countless ferocious beasts rushed out and trampled the trees. Jun Haoyan looked at those huge beasts and didn't dare to act rashly. He just let those beasts pass by like a meteor chasing after the moon. The bloodthirsty giant wolf was several feet long, and its 4 limbs were as thick as mountains. The serpent dragon was surrounded by lightning, and its scales and feathers danced wildly. Looking at these ferocious beasts, Jun Haoyan was secretly shocked. If he showed up rashly, he might die in the hands of these ferocious beasts. Soon, the roars of countless ferocious beasts came from the boundless forest. Hundreds of ferocious beasts and demon birds were killing each other, and it was extremely bloody. All kinds of deafening roars set off monstrous waves in the forest, and the aftershocks spread out. Seeing this scene, Jun Haoyan was a little stunned. Just for some food, these ferocious beasts are so crazy. Then, Jun Haoyan's figure slowly retreated. His eyes were fixed on these ferocious beasts. If he could kill these ferocious beasts, the monster cores and blood essence would be enough for him to cultivate for a long time. The wind whistled, and the trees were broken. Broken branches and withered leaves were everywhere, and the roars of the beasts resounded through the sky. The battle between the ferocious beasts was extremely violent. Some ferocious beasts relied on their incomparably huge bodies to rampage through the forest, trampling countless demon beasts to death. The scales of the silver giant alligator shone with a cold light, and its body violently crushed the other ferocious beasts. Blood immediately dyed the ground red. The demon birds circling in the sky looked at the scarlet ground from the corner of their eyes, and occasionally stretched their arms and swooped down. Like a dark cloud covering the sky and covering the earth, their sharp claws shone with a cold light, and directly pierced the lungs of several ferocious beasts, and blood splattered everywhere. The slow-moving iron-armored rhinoceroses crawled among them. Their thick limbs were like mountains falling from the sky, and they trampled on the backs and abdomens of many ferocious beasts. A bone-chilling cracking sound accompanied them, and blood spurted out from time to time, several feet high. Roar! The high-pitched cries pierced through gold and cracked stone, and several demon birds flew toward the armored rhinoceros and the silver giant alligator. Their hard as iron wings reflected a faint cold light, and the dense claw shadows enveloped the sky above the armored rhinoceros and the silver giant alligator. Perhaps they instinctively felt that the silver giant alligator and the armored rhinoceros were the greatest threats, and their straight wings were as sharp as blades. The demon beast race, the advantage of their physical body is naturally stronger than humans. Looking at the scene in front of him, Jun Haoyan's eyes were a little surprised. Compared to humans, these ferocious beasts were undoubtedly blessed by the heavens. In this world, humans did not occupy the dominant position. This world was completely coexisting between the demon beasts and the ferocious beasts. There were even some demon beasts that had already gained sentience that formed the so-called demon race. This was a world where hundreds of races coexisted. Jun Haoyan could not imagine how terrifying those demon races would be. Bang! Gravel burst out. The armored rhinoceros's defense was extremely abnormal, and it directly ignored the demon bird's attacks. No matter how sharp the demon bird's claws were, they could not leave the slightest mark on its scales. The silver giant alligator directly opened its bloody mouth, and a row of sharp sword-like teeth pointed to the sky. It let out a deafening roar, as if it wanted to tear the sky in front of it apart. The demon birds that swooped down seemed to have suffered a heavy blow, and fell straight into the forest. Crack! Crack! The silver giant alligator crawled over, and blood splattered everywhere. The demon beast's roar shook the sky, and the forest shook. Jun Haoyan's figure was hidden in the dense vines, and his expression was extremely solemn. At this moment, if he were to face this terrifying demon beast horde, he would be powerless even if he wanted to. Jun Haoyan raised his eyes to look at the demon birds that were circling in the sky. Jun Haoyan noticed that these demon birds were covered in claw marks, and boiling hot blood poured down, turning into a pool of blood. Obviously, these demon birds would not be able to hold on for long. It should be over soon. At present, only the silver giant alligator and the armored rhinoceros still have the strength to fight. Jun Haoyan looked up, and all he saw was scarlet, with blood and scales all over the ground. A few extremely huge ferocious beasts had their arms and legs cut off, and blood gushed out like crazy. It was extremely bloody. Staring at the silver giant alligator, Jun Haoyan was shocked. Even with the silver giant alligator's defense, at this moment, its scales were falling off, and it was in a very sorry state. Chapter 31. Let's hope these two idiots didn't destroy the other corpses. Otherwise, my plan will be a huge loss. Jun Haoyan thought to himself, as he looked at the silver crocodile and the armored rhinoceros. In the end, the final battle of the wild beasts would be decided by these two behemoths. Every time these two behemoths attacked, they would trample some of the wild beasts' corpses into meat paste. Seeing this, Jun Haoyan's eyes flashed with a hint of heartache. These wild beasts were basically at the true energy realm. It was very likely that they had condensed a monster core in their bodies. Moreover, the flesh and scales of these wild beasts were extremely expensive. If he could take away all of these wild beasts' corpses, Jun Haoyan would be rich. Smelling the pungent smell of blood in the air, Jun Haoyan knitted his brows and said, "The smell of blood in this place is getting stronger and stronger. If we stay here for too long, I'm afraid all the ferocious beasts within a radius of tens of miles will swarm here again." Screech! The high-pitched screeches dissipated into the sky, as the corpses of the wild beasts fell into a pool of blood. The armored rhinoceros trampled with its huge feet, causing blood to splatter everywhere. As Jun Haoyan expected, soon, all the wild beasts were dead. Only the silver crocodile and the armored rhinoceros were left at the scene. The armored rhinoceros stared at the silver crocodile with its huge blood-red eyes. Suddenly it roared to the sky. Then, a terrifying force swept out, condensing into a solid blade and blowing towards the silver crocodile. Facing this terrifying force, the silver crocodile was not afraid at all. It ignored the force released by the armored rhinoceros and pounced on the armored rhinoceros with its huge body. The armored rhinoceros stomped on the ground with its huge forelimbs, and its huge body collided with the silver crocodile. The silver crocodile opened its bloody mouth, and a row of sharp teeth with incomparable force lingered on it. It directly bit the armored rhinoceros body. The armored rhinoceros' forelimbs and head suddenly straightened, and its tough scales collided with the row of teeth. A clang resounded through the sky. Roar! The silver crocodile roared in anger, and blood spurted out from its teeth. The scales of this armored rhinoceros are too thick. Seeing this, Jun Haoyan couldn't help but ridicule inwardly. Even with the sharp teeth of the silver giant alligator, it can't break through the defense of the iron armored rhinoceros. The silver giant alligator swung its jaws wildly to throw the armored rhinoceros away. Its huge body suddenly leaped and pounced towards the armored rhinoceros. The scales on his body glittered with cold light. He was like a silver mountain, and his aura was vast. The armored rhinoceros also felt a sense of threat when it saw the silver crocodile charging towards it. The iron-armored rhinoceros stomped hard on the ground with its four thick and solid limbs. It charged forward and collided with the silver crocodile. Boom! Dazzling sparks flew in all directions, and the heaven and earth within a radius of several hundred feet seemed to tremble slightly at this moment. The two behemoths fought fiercely. Their incomparably sharp silver scales left deep marks on the ground, and the iron-armored rhinoceroses trampled on the ground with their four huge limbs. The struggling ferocious beasts that hadn't died, yet were trampled into a bloody pulp. Hot blood dripped down, and the smell of blood in the entire forest became even more intense. Looking at the two behemoths crazily biting each other, Jun Haoyan pursed his lips into a cold smile. "It's my turn." Swoosh! In the next moment, Jun Haoyan's figure moved. His body was like the wind, and he quickly advanced. In the blink of an eye, he appeared above the scarlet forest. Taking out an ancient green peak sword from his storage ring, Jun Haoyan decided to attack the ferocious beasts that hadn't died yet. If this dragged on, the armored rhinoceros and the silver crocodile would cause even more damage. Without any fancy movements, Jun Haoyan directly raised his hand and swung his sword down. A ferocious beast's head was cut off by him. Jun Haoyan quickly took out the beast's core and collected the blood essence. Then he rushed towards the next ferocious beast. Jun Haoyan was more than capable of handling these beasts on the verge of death. In the blink of an eye, Jun Haoyan had killed more than a dozen ferocious beasts and collected their beast cores and blood essence. The armored rhinoceros and the silver crocodile were fighting in a frenzy. Terrifying energy swept out like a hurricane, causing a rain of blood to fall. Roar! Suddenly, the silver crocodile roared. It broke free from the armored rhinoceros and charged towards Jun Haoyan. Its huge body was like a meteor from outer space. It streaked across the sky and smashed towards the stealthy Jun Haoyan. Obviously, the silver crocodile was very angry at Jun Haoyan for stealing its spoils of war. Jun Haoyan was always vigilant. When the silver crocodile made a move, a smile appeared on Jun Haoyan's handsome face. The strength of the hell-crushing divine elephant was activated to the extreme. An ancient giant elephant appeared behind him. Jun Haoyan muttered, "I've been waiting for you for a long time." A deafening roar like thunder raged between heaven and earth. The silver crocodile's huge body pounced toward Su Quebec. Jun Haotian's calm eyes exuded a hint of coldness. With a flick of his finger, a boundless suppressive force rolled out like a wave. A terrifying suppressive force gathered around Jun Haotian, and a terrifying pressure suddenly enveloped heaven and earth. Dutian Demon God Formula. With the power of the demon god, Jun Haotian's true yuan surged violently. He punched at the silver crocodile with all his strength. The silver crocodile's blood-red eyes stared at the incoming fist. It felt extremely uneasy and dangerous. Roar! The silver crocodile roared towards the sky. The scales on its body shone with a cold light. The hook-like scales expanded rapidly and covered its entire body. In the next moment, the silver crocodile charged towards Jun Haotian. Jun Haotian's fists collided with the silver crocodile. Clang! At the moment of impact, the heaven and earth within a radius of a few feet seemed to tremble slightly. The aftermath of the collision made one's scalp tingle and quickly swept out, bringing with it a roar. Cracks that were half a foot wide quickly spread out on the ground. Blood splashed, sand flew, and rocks were blown away. Violent true yuan qi raged. The silver crocodile roared angrily. The silver scales on its body were falling off at an extreme speed. A glaring fist mark hovered on its back. Jun Haotian's terrifying punch directly opened a wound on the silver crocodile's back. The primordial giant elephant roared and suppressed the silver crocodile. Jun Haotian saw the silver crocodile struggling on the verge of death, and a hint of joy appeared in his eyes. Then, he stabbed the green peak ancient sword in his hand into the wound on the silver crocodile's back. An extremely violent energy wave raged, as if it wanted to tear the void apart, bringing with it a sharp sound of breaking wind. The dazzling sword light, with an extremely shocking momentum, tore open the silver crocodile's scales. Half of the sword blade followed the fist mark on the silver crocodile's back, and directly sank into its huge body. Blood splattered everywhere. The silver crocodile's roar came to an abrupt end. Under Jun Haotian's calm gaze, its mountain-like body was thrown into the vast forest in the distance. Boom! Boom! Towering ancient trees were broken along the way and collapsed in rows. The silver crocodile was thrown dozens of feet away before it fell to the ground. Tens of thousands of leaves swirled in the air. Rolling sand and dust soared into the sky. Even so, it could not cover the silver crocodile's huge body. Blood oozed out and flowed all over the ground. Chapter 32. Phew! Jun Haotian let out a sigh of relief as he looked at the lifeless body of the silver crocodile. If the silver crocodile still couldn't be killed, then there was nothing he could do. Jun Haotian turned around and looked at the armored rhinoceros with a serious expression. Compared to the silver crocodile, Jun Haotian felt that the armored rhinoceros was more difficult to deal with. This beast's defense was much stronger than the silver crocodile's. Roar! Seeing Jun Haotian looking at it, the armored rhinoceros let out a ferocious roar. Its huge limbs stepped on the corpses on the ground and took a step towards Jun Haotian, looking down at him with a condescending expression. A pair of emerald eyes stared straight at Jun Haotian. Suddenly, a strange red pattern appeared on the armored rhinoceros's body. At the same time, a powerful hurricane swept up from the armored rhinoceros's body. Seeing this strange scene, Jun Haotian's expression changed and became cautious. The armored rhinoceros was about to show its power. Strength of the hell-crushing god mammoth. Facing such a terrifying beast, Jun Haotian didn't dare to underestimate it. He immediately used the strength of the hell-crushing god mammoth. Roar! The shadow of the primordial mammoth floated behind him. Jun Haotian stared at the armored rhinoceros, waiting for it to attack. Jun Haotian's heart was pounding. Facing a beast like the armored rhinoceros, whose defense was even more abnormal than the silver crocodile's, he didn't know if he could break its defense with a punch. Just as Jun Haotian was waiting for the armored rhinoceros's attack with full concentration, in the next moment, a hurricane suddenly appeared under the armored rhinoceros's huge limbs. The armored rhinoceros stepped on the hurricane and rushed towards the forest at an incredible speed, leaving a trail of blood behind. Seeing this scene, Jun Haotian was dumbfounded. This bastard created such a huge commotion just to escape? The corner of Jun Haoyan's mouth twitched as he watched the armored rhinoceros run away. That's right. For a ferocious beast like the armored rhinoceros, its intelligence shouldn't be low. The silver crocodile's strength is about the same as the rhinoceros, but it died in my hands in an instant. This iron-armored rhinoceros definitely won't dare to take the risk and fight me again. Jun Haoyan's heart ached as he looked at the ferocious beast corpses being destroyed by the armored rhinoceros. However, when Jun Haoyan's gaze fell upon the corpses of the ferocious beasts on the ground, his eyes burned with passion. Tisk tsk, with these beast cores and blood essences, my strength will rise to another level. Yes, we have to deal with these dire beasts quickly. After a while, the dire beasts from afar will be attracted again. Jun Haoyan immediately took out an ancient bronze sword from his storage ring and began to slice and dice the beast's carcass on the ground. Next, I should find a place to seclude myself and break through. A moment later, Jun Haoyan had completely disposed of the dire beast's corpse. Picking a direction, Jun Haoyan quickly disappeared into the night. In the silent night, there were stars in the sky and chess pieces in a vast expanse. A ray of cold moonlight slowly shone on the vast forest. As the moonlight flowed, a natural cave could be vaguely seen. There was a vigorous aura surging out from within, spreading throughout the land. The gentle moonlight seeped into the cave. In the cave, there was a crystal-clear, jade-like spirit fruit with an alluring luster. In the dark cave, there was a refreshing fragrance that made one feel relaxed and happy. In the cave, a graceful figure slowly appeared. Nalan Shui, sat cross-legged on a flat mountain rock. Her gaze was calm as she stared at the emerald spirit fruit placed in front of her. She muttered, "I hope this Xianyuan fruit can help me break through to the true energy stage." After entering the ruins, Nalan Shui, quickly identified her location and found the Xianyuan fruit based on her memories from her previous life. The Xianyuan fruit was a spirit fruit of heaven and earth. It could be used in medicine and could also help one's cultivation breakthrough. If I want to stop Jun Haoyan from obtaining the inheritance, apart from obtaining that item, I have to improve my strength. She thought of the unparalleled strength that Jun Haoyan had displayed outside the ruins. Nalan Shui, could not help but clench her fists tightly. A strong sense of danger surged in her heart. Although that item can help me form a spiritual body, if Jun Haoyan obtains the Golden Rock's inheritance, his strength will also improve by leaps and bounds. By then, I will still be no match for him. Nalan Shui's tightly clenched fist slowly relaxed. She looked at the jade-like Xianyuan fruit and muttered, "True energy realm. Only when I step into the true energy realm will I be qualified to fight for the inheritance." Nalan Shui exhaled softly and stuffed the Xianyuan fruit into her mouth without hesitation. An extremely pure energy immediately surged out from the Xianyuan fruit. Boom. The Xianyuan fruit was instantly bitten by Nalan Shui, and an extremely majestic energy surged out from the Xianyuan fruit. Before Nalan Shui could savor the taste of the Xianyuan fruit, the terrifying energy had already poured into her body. It was like a surging river, violently colliding with her. Caught off guard, Nalan Shui could not help but let out a soft groan. Her beautiful face flushed red. The energy contained in the Xianyuan fruit was extremely terrifying. Nalan Shui could not help but tremble slightly. A trace of determination flashed in her eyes. Nalan Shui formed a mysterious hand seal and quickly suppressed the violent energy in her body. Then, Nalan Shui controlled the energy and circulated it according to the path of her cultivation method. However, the moment Nalan Shui touched the energy, it immediately became extremely violent. Like a wild horse that had lost its reins, it galloped through Nalan Shui's body and rushed through her meridians. A heart-wrenching pain immediately overwhelmed Nalan Shui's nerves. I still underestimated the energy in the Xianyuan fruit. Cold sweat seeped out of Nalan Shui's forehead. Her beautiful face was completely twisted at this moment. "Jun Haoyan, I will definitely kill you. This time, I will definitely not lose to you." Thinking of the blood feud she had with Jun Haoyan in her previous life, a trace of determination flashed in Nalan Shui's eyes. Nalan Shui or allowed the majestic energy to surge through her body. All the meridians in her body twitched slightly. If I want to refine this energy, I will first have to suppress it. Nalan Shuer focused her mind. The yuan qi in her dantian surged out like a raging ocean, and violently suppressed the energy of the xianyuan fruit. About 6 hours later, Nalang Shuer's dantian was expanding at a speed visible to the naked eye. When she broke through some kind of shackle, an extremely powerful aura spread out from her dantian, passing through her limbs and bones, and breaking out of her body. Boom! Boom! Under the impact of this aura, the mountain rock that Nalan Shuer was standing on turned into rubble in an instant. Terrifying energy ripples spread out, and for a moment, the entire cave shook violently. Cracks spread out from the stone walls on both sides, as if it would collapse at any time. At this moment Nalan Shuer's eyes slowly opened. She retracted her aura, and felt the vigorous true yuan in her body. There was a trace of unconcealable excitement in her eyes. True Yuan Realm. Chapter 33. Inside a dark cave, Jun Haoyan sat cross-legged in a wooden barrel like a statue. The wooden barrel was filled with the blood essence of fierce beasts. These were the blood essence of fierce beasts that Jun Haoyan had collected earlier. At this moment, as Jun Haoyan cultivated, blood-colored patterns started to appear on the surface of the wooden barrel. These patterns emitted a blood-red light, which firmly locked the essence of the vicious beast's blood essence, preventing it from leaking out. The barrel was made from a material called blood-veined wood. Some rogue cultivators did not have the resources to refine vital treasures, so they could only use blood-veined wood to make wooden barrels to absorb the vicious beast's blood essence. This blood-veined wood barrel originally belonged to the rogue cultivator Lu Senator. After he was killed by Jun Haoyan, Jun Haoyan took the barrel for himself. With his eyes closed, Jun Haoyan circulated the strength of the hell-crushing god mammoth and madly absorbed the vicious beast's blood essence. As Jun Haoyan breathed smoothly, the vicious beast's blood essence in the barrel began to dissipate at a speed visible to the naked eye. Strands of red energy flowed out from the vicious beast's blood essence and madly rushed into Jun Haoyan's body. The strength of the hell-crushing god mammoth madly surged, and the moment the red energy entered Jun Haoyan's body, it was refined into true essence. With a thought, Jun Haoyan gathered the condensed true essence in his dantian. When the thick feeling of power once again filled Jun Haoyan's limbs and bones, Jun Haoyan's face regained some color. As the red energy flowed out rapidly, the blood essence in the wooden barrel gradually became thinner. The next morning, the blood essence in the blood-veined wood barrel had reached the bottom. The blood essence contained within had all been absorbed by Jun Haoyan. At the same time, Jun Haoyan opened his eyes, and a ray of light flashed in his eyes. Compared to refining the energy of heaven and earth, refining the vicious beast's blood essence is clearly more advantageous. Jun Haoyan sensed the abundant power in his body. With a thought, the power rippled out like a flood through Jun Haoyan's limbs and bones. However, if I want to break through to the third level of the true energy stage, this is still not enough. If he wanted to break through to the third level of the true energy stage, he needed an opportunity to break through this bottleneck. With that thought in mind, Jun Haoyan slowly took out a blood bottle from his storage ring. This bottle contained the blood essence from the heart of the silver crocodile. Absorbing the vicious beast's blood essence is not enough to break through this bottleneck. Since that's the case, there's no need to keep the blood essence and monster core. With that thought in mind, Jun Haoyan picked up the blood bottle and poured it into his mouth. The moment Jun Haoyan swallowed the silver crocodile's blood essence, a violent energy swept through Jun Haoyan's body. Then, it madly poured into Jun Haoyan's limbs and bones, tearing at Jun Haoyan's meridians and attacking Jun Haoyan's bones. Jun Haoyan had long since gotten used to this kind of pain when refining the Gold Emperor's heaven incinerating flame. At this moment he didn't feel anything. With a thought, he circulated the strength of the hell-crushing divine elephant. A suppressive force rippled out from his limbs and bones, attacking the energy. The energy was torn into small streams, which were then refined into true energy and poured into his dantian. Jun Haoyan's body trembled slightly. At this moment his aura began to slowly rise. However, Jun Haoyan was clearly not satisfied with this rise. He took out a monster core the size of a pellet from his storage ring. This was the silver crocodile's monster core, which contained a large amount of energy. Jun Haoyan picked up the monster core and swallowed it. He swallowed the Yao core directly, and an even more violent and vigorous energy swept through his body, crashing against his bones and flesh. Bang! Bang in the spacious cave, a dull rumbling sound rippled out. Soon, the energy was refined into strands of true energy by Jun Haoyan. The true energy flowed into Jun Haoyan's dantian, and his blood and qi became extraordinarily powerful. At this moment, the true energy in Jun Haoyan's body was boiling, and it rippled through Jun Haoyan's meridians. Finally, the true energy turned into countless vigorous true energy torrents and slowly flowed into his dantian. For a time, the true energy in Jun Haoyan's dantian surged violently, and there was a loud rumbling sound echoing in Jun Haoyan's body. This feeling made Jun Haoyan's dantian feel a faint pain. It was turbulent, as if it could not bear such a majestic true energy. Break for me! Both of Jun Haoyan's hands suddenly formed a seal, and an incomparably majestic energy suddenly appeared in his dantian. This energy immediately charged towards the bottleneck of the realm. Crack! In the next moment, an extremely powerful aura rippled out from the cave. However, this aura quickly retracted, and the cave once again fell into silence. Boom! Night fell, and the cave quickly fell into endless darkness. Suddenly Jun Haoyan, who was sitting on the bluestone, trembled slightly. In the next moment, an astonishing aura once again came out from the cave. It was like a volcanic eruption, incomparably ferocious. Jun Haoyan's tightly shut eyes suddenly opened. What a powerful force! The difference of one realm is like the difference between heaven and earth. Jun Haoyan felt the crazy and almost enormous power in his body, and a smile of ecstasy immediately appeared on his face. With a thought, the true energy in his body immediately surged out and flowed into his limbs and bones. Bang! In the next moment, Jun Haoyan's body suddenly stood up from the green stone, and like an arrow that had left the bow, he explosively shot out, and in a few breaths of time, he had already appeared in front of the cave's stone wall. Immediately after, he clenched his right hand, and the true energy in his body flowed out, and with a whistling sound, he smashed into the mountain wall. Jun Haoyan's fist blasted out, causing the entire cave to tremble slightly. Feeling the power of this punch, Jun Haoyan revealed a satisfied smile. His physical body was originally strong, but his cultivation was still somewhat lacking. Now that his cultivation had broken through, with the combination of the two, his strength had undoubtedly skyrocketed to an extremely terrifying level. This punch, if taken by a martial artist of the 4th level of the true energy realm, at the very least, they would be seriously injured, Jun Haoyan softly murmured. His current strength could be said to have skyrocketed several times compared to before, and now he was confident that he could contend against Jun Haoyan without using the strength of the hell-crushing divine elephant, and this was not his limit. If I use all my trump cards, I am confident that I can suppress Jun Haoyan and even kill him. Jun Haoyan's eyes flashed with a cold light. His mind moved slightly, and the true essence that was rippling through his limbs and bones whizzed towards his dantian's qi. His aura also gradually converged, like a sharp sword that hit its edge. The check-in time has been refreshed. Host, do you wish to check in? At this time, the system's voice rang out in Jun Haoyan's mind. Jun Haoyan was stunned for a moment, and then he affirmed. Check-in. Ding! Congratulations to host for check-in successful. Received 9 Tribulation Sword Art. Chapter 34. Ding! Congratulations to the host for obtaining the 9 Tribulations Sword Technique. Do you accept the inheritance? Accept. Just as Jun Haoyan finished speaking, a strong sense of dizziness swept over him like a tidal wave, instantly drowning Jun Haoyan's consciousness. In the next moment, the scene before Jun Haoyan's eyes suddenly changed. A scarlet sea of blood suddenly appeared in Jun Haoyan's vision. Jun Haoyan lowered his head and saw that his body was actually incorporeal. In this space, Countless extremely sharp sword lights were wreaking havoc, firmly enveloping this space. In the next moment, Jun Haotian's eyes narrowed as he stared straight at the center of the sea of blood. There, Tao Xian's figure, whose clothes were as black as ink, and whose hair was as white as frost, was standing still with a blood sword in his hand. And this figure was surrounded by countless swordsmen. The endless sword aura in the void was released by these swordsmen. And the target of these sword aura was the white-haired swordsman in the center of the sea of blood. Allowing the sword aura that tore through heaven and earth to rush over, the white-haired figure did not move at all, as if he did not see it. But just as the sword aura was about to envelop the white-haired swordsman, he slowly raised his head and raised the blood sword in his hand. Buzz! In the next moment, an extremely terrifying sword aura instantly enveloped the entire space of the sea of blood. The sword aura surged with a deafening sword hum, accompanied by the white-haired man's hoarse roar. A single ray of cold light pierces 10,000 fathoms. What harm is there in slaughtering the world? A sharp wool buried deep does not change, gathering wind and clouds to become the emperor. A sword blade that has been famous since ancient times, sweeping the winds and clouds from east to west. The sun and the moon are my lightning generals, splitting mountains and breaking peaks. The sky is blood red, a blade that crosses the sky for 10,000 autumns. This road leads to the netherworld, cutting off the worldly affairs. Where the blade reaches, everything ends. Iron walls and bronze walls never end. What more can I ask for in this life? The winds and clouds of the 9 heavens gather. As long as I am alive, there will be no worries. The hidden light hides the blade until the end of the night, strategizes in the tent until the end of the day. I would rather live in seclusion for the rest of my life, in exchange for the killing frenzy of the green heavens. The hum of the sword and the majestic aura, that sounded like a large bell, actually caused the world to change color. Dim and lightless, the ghost weeps blood. The terrifying sword intent directly swept through the entire space. Instantly, the surrounding swordsmen seemed to have lost their souls. They stood where they were, stunned, and their eyes were lifeless. As for the swordsmen who were slightly further away, their heads flew into the sky one after another. Mournful screams rang out from their heads, making one's hair stand on end. Blood gushed out from the swordsmen further away. The moment the breeze blew, the swordsman who stood still immediately turned into blood and splashed all over the ground. One could vaguely see the scattered white powder. This is the 9 tribulations sword art? Jun Haotian's mind trembled slightly as an unimaginable pain came from the depths of his soul, as if it was trying to tear Jun Haotian's body apart. At the same time, amidst the sea of blood and the mountain of corpses, the white-haired figure slowly raised his head. His cold and emotionless gaze locked onto Jun Haotian, and a cold voice sounded in Jun Haotian's ears. The 9 tribulations sword art is a supreme killing sword technique. Supreme killing sword technique? Hearing this, Jun Haotian's heart trembled. In the next moment, the shocking scene in front of him suddenly became fragmented. Jun Haotian's vision blurred, and the dark scene in the cave once again appeared in his sight. Looking at the familiar cave in front of him, Jun Haotian's eyes flashed with the previous scene. The scene just now was extremely real. The 9 tribulations sword art was a supreme killing sword technique. Jun Haotian let out a light breath, and his eyes were a little blurred. He vaguely seemed to have seen the shocking scene just now. Without a sound, the sky was filled with heads. Their mournful screams could still be heard echoing within the heads. This was the best way to kill someone. At the same time, Jun Haotian's memory of the corpses that had been reduced to a puddle of blood was still fresh. Jun Haotian had an inexplicable shock, and an inexplicable feeling flowed in his mind. In the next moment, Jun Haotian seemed to have thought of something. He closed his eyes slightly, and his mind was slightly focused. Jun Haotian seemed to have forgotten the passage of time, and forgot where he was. His mind was completely immersed in the sword intent. A mysterious feeling grew stronger in his mind, and Jun Haotian's mind became deeper and deeper. After a moment, a fierce sword intent rippled in his body, and it was extremely fierce. In the southeast corner of the antiquity ruins, there was a huge lake here. Beside the lake, there was an ancient tablet with the words Netherworld Lake engraved on it. What was surprising was that the water of the Netherworld Lake was actually black. Whoosh! At this moment, a figure appeared beside the Netherworld Lake. The person who came was dressed in red, and her black hair fluttered in the wind. She was like a fairy who had descended to the mortal world. Her skin was ice cold, and her bones were jade. There was an innate noble and elegant temperament between her brows. It was Nalen Shwe, Netherworld Lake. Nalen Shwe, beautiful eyes stared at the pitch-black Netherworld Lake with a complicated expression. The Netherworld Lake could be said to be a forbidden area in the Antiquity ruins. Any living thing that entered the Netherworld Lake would not be able to come out. The Netherworld Lake was like a giant abyss beast that swallowed all living things that entered it. Who would have thought that the origin of the Netherworld Lake was actually caused by that thing? Nalen Shwe looked at the calm surface of the Netherworld Lake and took out a black pearl from her storage ring. Apart from looking as black as the Netherworld Lake, this pearl looked ordinary. Water avoidance pearl. Nalen Shwe stroked the black pearl with excitement in her eyes. This water avoidance pearl was the only way to enter the Netherworld Lake. Only with the water avoidance pearl in hand could one avoid the Netherworld Lake's water and successfully reach the bottom of the lake to obtain that thing. Before entering the Antiquity ruins, Nalen Shwe had already planned her plan based on the memories of her previous life. Holding the water avoidance pearl in hand, Nalen Shwe poured her true essence into it, and the water avoidance pearl immediately emitted a blue light. This blue light was like a shield, protecting Nalen Shwe in the middle. In the next moment, Nalen Shwe's feet lightly tapped the ground, and her body immediately moved toward the Netherworld Lake. Then a strange scene appeared. The instant the Netherworld Lake's water came into contact with the water avoidance pearl, the lake's water automatically moved aside, opening a passage to the bottom of the Netherworld Lake for Nalen Shwe. When she saw this, a charming smile appeared on Nalen Shwe's face. Then, she directly jumped into the passage that appeared on the surface of the Netherworld Lake. After Nalen Shwe jumped into the Netherworld Lake, the passage on the lake's surface immediately closed, and the lake returned to its initial calm state. Swoosh! About half an hour after Nalen Shwe entered the Netherworld Lake, a figure suddenly appeared at the edge of the Netherworld Lake. This person was dressed in the Nether Sect's uniform. He looked at the place where Nalen Shwe disappeared, his eyes filled with disbelief. That person just now seemed to be the Great Yin Empire's Nalen Shwe. Nalen Shwe was the #1 genius of Great Yin. At such a young age, the Jade Lake sacred ground had extended an olive branch to her. Naturally, the major factions had information about her. Who is this Nalen Shwe? Even senior brother Gu, he doesn't dare to step into the Netherworld Lake, but she can enter it. This Nether Sect disciple looked at the Netherworld Lake, a thoughtful look in his eyes. Nalen Shwe must have a motive for entering the Netherworld Lake. There must be something else at the bottom of the Netherworld Lake. Let's report this to senior brother Gui first. The figure flashed and quickly left the Netherworld Lake. The Netherworld Lake's shore returned to its original tranquility. Chapter 35. In the blink of an eye, 10 days had passed since he entered the ruins. During this time, Jun Haoyan had been heading north, killing ferocious beasts along the way. He had collected countless monster cores and blood essences. The further north he went, the colder the weather in the ruins. Just 3 days ago, when Jun Haoyan entered another boundless forest, he didn't know when it started snowing heavily. In the distant sky, a red sun slowly set, and night slowly fell. The dark forest path was filled with hissing sounds. Holding an ancient green peak sword in his hand, Jun Haoyan, dressed in white, slowly stepped on the thick snow. Jun Haoyan's expression was indifferent as he walked. The wind and snow were sharp as blades, blowing against Jun Haoyan's face, stinging. Jun Haoyan looked ahead, frowning slightly. This vast forest seemed to have no end. Jun Haoyan had been walking north for several days, but he still hadn't walked out of this forest. Jun Haoyan had thought of using his flame wings to directly fly out of this forest. But flying in the air was too big of a target. In this ruin, there were all kinds of strange ferocious beasts hiding in the dark. The slightest carelessness could lead to the attack of these ferocious beasts. Therefore, Jun Haoyan rarely flew along the way. He was basically walking on foot. Therefore, he had experienced a lot of fighting. After hundreds of fights with ferocious beasts, Jun Haoyan's temperament had become aggressive, and his body faintly emitted a murderous aura. During this time, Jun Haoyan had also encountered some extremely terrifying ferocious beasts. Some had even reached the 4th level of the true element realm. Jun Haoyan had almost used all his skills to kill them. Now that he thought of the dangerous scene, Jun Haoyan still had some lingering fear. He lowered his head and looked at his originally white and flawless hands, which were now covered with scars. Countless battles had not only trained Jun Haoyan's fighting experience, but also made him more proficient in controlling the 9 Tribulations sword intent. Jun Haoyan was only able to avert danger by relying on the extremely fierce 9 Tribulations sword will when he encountered some ferocious beasts with extremely abnormal defense. Jun Haoyan could grind a ferocious beast to death with the help of the 9 Tribulations sword intent, no matter how strong its defense was. What the hell? I haven't seen anyone for so many days, Jun Haoyan said gloomily. Lu's son wouldn't be lying to me, right? After thinking about it, Jun Haoyan immediately dismissed this idea. Lu's son hated Yi Shiwen to the bone. He would definitely want Yi Shiwen to go to the center of the ruins. It would be best if he ran into Jun Haoyan and got beaten to death. Therefore, going north was definitely the right choice. With this thought in mind, Jun Haoyan smiled bitterly and could only continue forward. But after taking a few steps, Jun Haoyan's face suddenly changed, and a trace of coldness appeared in his eyes. In the next moment, Jun Haoyan's right foot carried a terrifying force as it fiercely stomped on the snow in front of him. Then, Jun Haoyan instantly pulled out the Green Peak ancient sword in his hand and raised it out of the scabbard. With a bright sword light, it was like a falling meteor that was ruthlessly stabbed into the snow in front of him. Half of the Green Peak ancient sword's body was buried in the snow, and scarlet blood splashed out. Jun Haoyan narrowed his eyes slightly. With a flip of his wrist, the long sword immediately rose. It's actually a bloodthirsty demon rat. Looking at the ferocious beast on the tip of the sword that had died with its eyes wide open, Jun Haoyan said somewhat coldly, "Bloodthirsty demon rat." This name was given by Jun Haoyan himself, because this ferocious beast's body was no different from a rat's, and it also liked to devour the blood essence of living creatures. There were countless ferocious beasts running amok in the lush greenery, and there were also countless dangers hidden in the pure white snow. This bloodthirsty demon rat was only one of them. 3 days ago, Jun Haoyan had been attacked by a ferocious beast that looked like a crocodile. That ferocious beast hid in the snow, waiting for an opportunity to strike. If not for the fact that Jun Haoyan's soul was different from ordinary people's, and discovered it early, his legs would probably have been bitten off by that ferocious beast on the spot. Casually throwing away the corpse of the bloodthirsty demon rat, Jun Haoyan moved forward again. After about half an hour, Jun Haoyan stopped again. Jun Haoyan looked helplessly at the swaying wind and snow behind him. The footprints he left behind were immediately covered by the wind and snow. Wandering aimlessly like this was even more boring than meditating and cultivating. In the vast world, other than the lush greenery and pure white snow, there was only his own figure left. It could be said that there was no one before him, and no one after him. After coming to this world, Jun Haoyan felt a trace of loneliness and solitude for the first time. The chilly wind whistled over, mixed with a terrifying force. Ung! At this moment, a high-pitched cry pierced through the clouds and cracked the stones. The sound of rushing wind gradually rose. Hearing this sound, Jun Haoyan, who was feeling bored, suddenly frowned and looked up. In the void, a male bird covered in green scales swooped down with its wings. Its speed was as fast as lightning, and it was frightening. It's this beast again. Looking at the ferocious beast that looked like a bra in the void, Jun Haoyan's face turned cold. During this period, he had often been attacked by such demon birds. This was also the reason why he did not dare to fly in the air. Jun Haoyan slowly pulled out the Green Peak ancient sword. An extremely terrifying sword chi slowly condensed at the tip of the sword. Jun Haoyan's figure was towering and majestic. He calmly looked at the demon bird that swooped down. Ung! The cry became louder and louder. The demon bird's steel-like arms cut through the wind, and snow like a torrent of steel. The scales shone with a dazzling metallic luster. At this moment of life and death, Jun Haoyan's body moved. He took a step forward, and raised the green peak ancient sword in his hand. Then he casually slashed at the void. On the tip of the sword, there were specks of cold light shining. Specks of cold light, boundless light. Clang! The sound of metal colliding burst out. The demon bird's huge body immediately flipped over, and was thrown dozens of meters away. Blood dripped from the green peak ancient sword. It heavily smashed into the snow and melted into a pool of blood. Jun Haoyan raised his head, and looked at the slightly dusky sky. The corner of his mouth curled into a smile. These few days, I've been meeting more and more eagle-type demon birds. This demon bird's habit is to live in the grassland. It seems that I'll be able to walk out of this forest in a few days. Looking down at the wound on his hand, Jun Haoyan frowned. The extremely condensed true origin in his body filled every corner. These few days of killing had constantly squeezed out his energy. His improvement could be said to be by leaps and bounds. Feeling the abundant energy in his body, Jun Haoyan raised his head, and looked at the undulating forest in the distance. The corner of his mouth curled into a smile. This kind of life may be boring, but my strength is increasing rapidly. Chapter 36. After walking north for another half a day, Jun Haoyan stopped again. There's the smell of blood. Sniffing, Jun Haoyan's expression became a little wary. This way. The tip of Jun Haoyan's foot lightly landed on the snow. His entire figure disappeared from the spot like a flickering light and passing shadow. He quickly flew towards the lush greenery. What a ferocious aura! Soon, Jun Haoyan came to the place where the smell of blood was strong. As soon as he arrived, Jun Haoyan felt a little creeped out. His eyes were fixed on the forest in front of him, and an extremely terrifying aura filled the forest. There must be something ferocious hidden in here. Thinking of this, Jun Haoyan looked at the forest in front of him, and a trace of fighting spirit flashed in his eyes. Under the towering ancient trees that covered the sky, among the swaying branches. Crunch! Crunch! A small ferocious beast was hiding under the big tree, biting the corpse of some ferocious beast in its mouth. Its sharp teeth gnawed on the corpse of the ferocious beast, and its pair of bloody eyes were even more breathtaking. While this ferocious beast was enjoying its dinner, a ferocious and huge figure was flying on the canopy, as if it was walking on flat ground. His huge body rampaged, and the thick tree vines snapped with a caw-caw sound. The vigorous figure shot down from the top of the tree. Its sharp fangs opened and closed as it swallowed the tiny beast into its stomach. It didn't even chew on it. Puff! Blood splattered. Like a meteorite falling from the sky, this huge monster slammed hard on the ground, and cracks appeared directly on the ground. This cruel scene was naturally seen by Jun Haoyan in the dark, and he was secretly amazed. The law of the jungle was the law of the jungle, and it was vividly reflected here. Restraining his aura, Jun Haoyan bent down slightly, and carefully looked at this ferocious beast. This ferocious beast's body was more than 10 meters long, and its shape was like a dinosaur, ferocious and terrifying. Its whole body was covered with dense blood-red scales. The most eye-catching thing was that this ferocious beast had 8 limbs, and its cold claws were at the end. As it crawled forward, its sharp claws hit the forest, and the forest fell layer by layer. Under the sunset, this ferocious beast stood there like a towering mountain, giving people a sense of oppression. Even though Jun Haoyan was dozens of feet away from this ferocious beast, Jun Haoyan could feel a strong bloody smell coming from it. What a terrifying aura! This was Jun Haoyan's feeling. Although Jun Haoyan had killed a ferocious beast of the 4th level true realm, he was sure that this ferocious beast in front of him was even more terrifying than before. What kind of ferocious beast was this ferocious beast? You look like a dinosaur and have 8 legs. I'll call you the 8-legged magic dragon, Jun Haoyan thought to himself. Should I attack or not? Feeling the aura of the 8-legged demonic dragon, Jun Haoyan was a little hesitant. This 8-legged demonic dragon was very powerful, and he didn't know much about its ability. If he acted rashly, he might suffer a great loss. Just as Jun Haoyan was hesitating, he suddenly felt a chill in his body. Looking up subconsciously, Jun Haoyan happened to meet a pair of blood-red eyes. In that instant, Jun Haoyan could feel an extreme chill coming from the air. It seems that I can only fight. Jun Haoyan smiled bitterly. He didn't expect this 8-legged demonic dragon to be so sensitive. In the next moment, Jun Haoyan stood up directly. At the same time, he fully released the strength of the 3rd-level true element realm. The moment Jun Haoyan released his aura, the 8-legged demonic dragon's pair of blood-red eyes stared at him, filled with the chill of the forest. Under the gaze of this blood-red gaze, Jun Haoyan actually felt suffocated. Come on! Jun Haoyan slowly pulled out the green peak ancient sword in his hand and pointed the tip of the sword at the 8-legged demonic dragon. Roar! When one's strength reached the level of the 8-legged demonic dragon, even a ferocious beast would be psychic. Seeing Jun Haoyan pull out the long sword, the 8-legged demonic dragon roared at Jun Haoyan. In the next moment, the huge body of the 8-legged demonic dragon pounced on Jun Haoyan like a meteor. The earth shook, and the towering trees along the way undulated. So fast! Seeing this, Jun Haoyan narrowed his eyes. Although the 8-legged demonic dragon was huge, its speed was not slow at all. In just an instant, the huge body of the 8-legged demonic dragon appeared above Jun Haoyan. Roar! Facing Jun Haoyan, the 8-legged demonic dragon opened its bloody mouth and let out a thunderous roar. Thousands of leaves rustled down, and even the air vibrated. Jun Haoyan only felt pain in his eardrums. Crack! As the wood chips flew, the 8-legged demonic dragon's huge and sharp 8 legs tore through the air and went straight for Jun Haoyan. Looking at the huge claw with terrifying pressure coming at him, Jun Haoyan frowned slightly. If the huge claw landed on him, it would definitely tear him to pieces. Roar! The strength of the hell-crushing divine elephant was activated, and the shadow of an ancient mammoth appeared. A vast and boundless suppressive force protected his body. In just an instant, Jun Haoyan felt the pressure of the 8-legged demonic dragon disappear. In the next moment, Jun Haoyan's slender white fingers slowly pressed on the green peak ancient sword, and a terrifying sword intent surged out from his body. Jun Haoyan moved gracefully, his snow-white sword mixed with incomparably ferocious sword chi abruptly striking out. A single ray of cold light pierces 10,000 fathoms. What harm is there in slaughtering the world? Specks of sword light burst out, like the stars in the night sky. During this period of fighting with fierce beasts, Jun Haoyan tried his best not to use the strength of the hell-crushing divine elephant and the Dutian demon god technique in order to practice the 9 tribulations swordsmanship. He only used the 9 tribulations swordsmanship to fight the enemy. As a result, his swordsmanship improved at a godly speed. He had already reached the realm of perfection. In the blink of an eye, Jun Haoyan's flashing sword blade collided with the scales of the 8-legged demonic dragon, which had a metallic luster. Clang! 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 A series of sparks burst in midair, accompanied by the roar of metal colliding. The scales of the 8-legged demonic dragon were as hard as metal, indestructible. Seeing this scene, Jun Haoyan's pupils shrank. What a tough guy! Jun Haoyan gently stepped on the swaying withered leaves, and his body moved like a breeze among the treetops. A blade across the sky for 10,000 autumns. This road leads to the underworld. Jun Haoyan used the 9 tribulations swordsmanship again. The green peak sword was waved, and rays of cold light flashed. Jun Haoyan's sword, with dense sword light, directly enveloped the 8-legged demonic dragon. Clang! Along with the sound of metal colliding, there was a sound. Every time Jun Haoyan swung his sword, it accurately hit the same spot on the 8-legged demonic dragon's body, breaking the surface with a single point. After about a dozen strikes, the long sword in Jun Haoyan's hand was finally stained with a trace of blood. It's working. A trace of blood seeped out of the 8-legged demonic dragon's broad body, and the 8-legged demonic dragon's eyes were filled with endless anger. Being injured by Jun Haoyan undoubtedly provoked the anger in its heart. Chapter 37. Staring at Jun Haoyan with its blood-red eyes, The eight-legged demonic dragon's eyes were cold. A ghastly wound had appeared on its body, and fresh blood was flowing out of it. As the supreme overlord of the vast forest, the eight-legged demonic dragon had never suffered such humiliation. Being injured by Jun Haotian, a human being, the eight-legged demonic dragon could no longer suppress the anger in its heart. Roar! In the next moment, the eight-legged demonic dragon opened its bloody mouth and let out an earth-shattering roar at Jun Haotian. At the same time, an extremely sharp strength chi surged out from its bloody mouth. Clang! A powerful force that carried an endless amount of fiendish chi swept over. Feeling this energy, Jun Haotian frowned, and his face changed instantly. His body trembled slightly, and even his hand holding the sword was a little unstable. This tone, it's really over my head. Facing the impact of the eight-legged demonic dragon's roar, Jun Haotian suddenly felt as if he was facing a tsunami. His soul was a little dazed, and he was almost taken away. At this moment, the eight-legged demonic dragon seized the opportunity when Jun Haotian was hit. Its huge body suddenly leaped, and its huge arms swept out, completely breaking the trees, and the trees collapsed with a loud bang. Seeing this, Jun Haotian's figure flashed, and he quickly dodged like a flickering light. Facing the eight-legged demonic dragon head-on, Jun Haotian believed that no matter how strong his strength was, he would not be able to gain any advantage. While dodging, Jun Haotian also waved the long sword in his hand. A sword light that was as dark as water surged out like a tsunami, while the long sword in Jun Haotian's hand became faintly discernible. The second move of the Nine Tribulations swordsmanship. A sharp will buried deep will not change, gathering wind and clouds to become the king. Roar! After missing its attack, the eight-legged demonic dragon once again pounced on Jun Haotian. His huge body brought along an extremely strong hurricane as it collided with Jun Haotian's sword light with an overwhelming force. Roar! The eight-legged demonic dragon's sharp claws directly greeted Jun Haotian's head. Its pair of blood-red eyes were filled with boundless killing intent. When it collided with Jun Haotian, it actually let out another loud roar. Roar! As the sword chi condensed, Jun Haotian's eyes turned cold. His arm that was holding the ancient green peak sword suddenly shook. The sword light was like a shadow. In just a moment, Jun Haotian had created more than a dozen sword shadows. The streaks of sword light all overlapped, breaking through the surface with a single point and landing directly on the eight-legged demonic dragon's claws. Boom! When the two collided, a terrifying force exploded like a volcanic eruption. The terrifying sword chi swept through the void like an overturning sea. Snow danced wildly in the air. The ancient green peak sword quickly let out a mournful cry. Jun Haotian only felt his right arm go numb, and his long sword was immediately shaken away. In the next moment, the eight-legged demonic dragon's sharp claws appeared directly in front of him. Jun Haotian felt a stinging pain on his face from the murderous aura on the sharp claws. Bang! A pair of flaming wings appeared on Jun Haotian's back. At the critical moment, Jun Haotian opened his flaming wings, and his speed instantly reached the extreme, just in time to avoid the sharp claws of the eight-legged demonic dragon. Boom! In the next moment, the eight-legged demonic dragon's bloodthirsty claws directly hit Jun Haotian's afterimage. Even the trees behind him were affected and exploded. As the wood flew, Jun Haotian opened his flaming wings and constantly swam under the ferocious claws of the eight-legged demonic dragon. It was as if he was walking on ice. This was the only feeling in Jun Haotian's heart. Under the suppression of the eight-legged demonic dragon's terrifying strength, Jun Haotian's sword momentum was collapsing. The eight-legged demonic dragon's earth-shattering aura enveloped Jun Haotian's body. As it swam, the overflowing aura spread to the side. Jun Haotian's entire body was aching faintly. This was a completely one-sided situation. However, Jun Haotian was like a withered leaf swaying in the wind. He did not fall. His eyes were filled with a crazy light. The flaming wings on Jun Haotian's back flapped crazily. A feeling of satisfaction filled Jun Haotian's heart. This was the feeling. Jun Haotian only felt that the blood in his body was about to boil. It was so satisfying. Under the pressure of the eight-legged demonic dragon, Jun Haotian continued to break through his own limits. The two figures left afterimages in the forest. Terrifying fluctuations rolled violently, and the ferocious beasts and birds in the forest ran everywhere. Crack! The giant tree broke with a sound. The eight-legged demonic dragon picked up half of the tree and strode forward, following closely behind Jun Haotian. With every step he took, the entire sea of trees trembled slightly. The huge tree in his hand shot out and crashed into the sea of trees in the distance, causing cracking sounds to ring out endlessly. A violent roar pierced through the clouds. Rows of giant trees swept across. Jun Haotian could only retreat. He secretly clicked his tongue. This beast was really terrifying when it went berserk. Clang! The green peak ancient sword was inserted in the snow. Jun Haotian suddenly activated the Dutian demon god technique. The blood sea surged, and the 12 demon gods appeared. A terrifying aura suddenly emerged from Jun Haotian's body. Demon god power, support me! With Jun Haotian's low chant, the 12 demon gods' powers behind him suddenly gathered on Jun Haotian's body. At the same time, the vitality in the entire world suddenly became violent. Jun Haotian's mind moved, and the demon god's power seemed to be pulled. They flowed into the green peak ancient sword in Jun Haotian's hand. When all the demon god's powers flowed into the green peak ancient sword, an extremely condensed blood-red sword shadow slowly appeared on the green peak ancient sword. Jun Haotian looked up at the eight-legged demonic dragon that was charging at him violently. The corner of his mouth curled into a sneer. What harm is there in slaughtering the entire world? Jun Haotian chanted softly. In the next moment, an extremely fierce blood-red sword light shot out like a waterfall. The blood-red sword light tore through the void, and a rumbling sound of space shattering could be heard from the surroundings. Amidst the eight-legged demonic dragon's shrill roar, the blood-red sword shadow brazenly collided with the eight-legged demonic dragon's huge body. With a loud bang, the violent vitality surged out like a monstrous wave and landed on the eight-legged demonic dragon's body. At the same time, a majestic force exploded and swept out in all directions. Amidst an earth-shattering roar, the surrounding forest also exploded, and snow fluttered everywhere. The terrifying airwave even shattered the trees in the distance. The entire forest seemed to have been baptized by a tsunami, and sword marks spread across the barren ground. The majestic eight-legged demonic dragon flew out uncontrollably. Almost all the trees along the way were broken, and a striking dent quickly appeared where it passed. The ground was in a mess, and the fluctuations that were swept by the terrifying energy could be seen everywhere. As the snow and mud splattered, the eight-legged demonic dragon's body was bleeding profusely. The scales on its body that were originally shining with a cold light were also shattered. At this moment, a hint of fear appeared in the eight-legged demonic dragon's violent blood-red eyes. Seeing the eight-legged demonic dragon's fearful look, Jun Haotian was a little surprised. He had gathered the demon god's powers and launched an extremely powerful sword attack, but it had only seriously injured the beast. He knew very well that his sword attack just now was enough to kill a powerhouse at the 5th level of the true energy realm. However, the eight-legged demonic dragon in front of him was still alive and only seriously injured. Where did this eight-legged demonic dragon come from? Jun Haotian's eyes were a little surprised. This eight-legged demonic dragon is definitely not an ordinary beast. Chapter 38. The severely injured eight-footed demonic dragon was naturally no match for Jun Haotian. Jun Haotian did not show any mercy and killed the eight-footed demonic dragon mercilessly. Then, Jun Haotian was ready to take out the eight-footed demonic dragon's monster core and blood essence. Whoosh! At this moment, a sharp sound of something breaking through the air suddenly rang out in the forest. Hearing this sound, Jun Haotian had goosebumps all over his body, and chills ran down his spine. In the next moment, Jun Haotian turned around and looked behind him. Whoosh! Whoosh! You're courting death! Seeing this, Jun Haotian's face turned ghastly pale, and he unleashed the full power of the Stage 3 True Essence realm. In the next moment, Jun Haotian gripped the green crushed treasure sword in his hand and slashed out several sword lights at the arrow shadows. Clang! Suddenly, the sound of metal clashing could be heard in the forest. Jun Haotian waved the green peak ancient sword and countless sword shadows sealed the space. Buzz! At this moment, The sound of bowstrings could be heard in the dark forest. In the next moment, countless arrows pierced through the air again, and turned into an endless rain of arrows that swept toward Jun Haotian. Jun Haotian's eyes flashed coldly. In the next moment, his figure teleported like a ghost, and the majestic true essence in his body surged out. At the same time, Jun Haotian waved the green peak ancient sword in his hand wildly, and brought about an earth-shattering sword shadow. The sword shadow collided with the rain of arrows like a hurricane. Clang! 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 The incomparably violent sword light immediately set off a violent storm on the ground, and the entire ground was covered with dense sword scars. The rain of arrows that filled the sky were all blocked by Jun Haotian. Jun Haotian looked at the arrows that littered the ground with an extremely cold expression. Who wants to kill me? In the next moment, Jun Haotian's figure flashed, and he spread his wings and charged toward the dark forest. This guy must have been seriously injured in the battle with the eight-clawed demonic dragon. As long as we kill him, the corpse of the eight-clawed demonic dragon will be ours. In the dark forest, a stage 1 true essence realm martial artist stared at the corpse of the eight-clawed demonic dragon in the distance. Stop talking nonsense and focus your firepower. At this moment, a skinny young man next to him shouted sternly, "Whoosh! Whoosh! 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 Whoosh!" The true essence realm martial artist who spoke earlier said again, "As long as we get the corpse of the eight-clawed demonic dragon, our trip to the ruins will be worth it." At this moment, a white-clothed figure barged into their line of sight like a celestial being. The young man was stunned when he saw Jun Haotian. Then a sneer appeared on his face. "You still dare to rush over? You are simply courting death. Hurry up and increase the firepower. Kill him." Whoosh! 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 The scarlet arrow shadows were like vipers that charged toward Jun Haotian's vital points. However, Jun Haotian's speed was as fast as lightning. He was able to skillfully dodge the fatal arrows every time. "Senior brother Xiao, this guy is so fast. What a terrifying reaction. He is actually safe and sound under such a rain of arrows." Stop F** King sighing. "Focus." Senior brother Xiao said coldly. His eyes turned serious when he heard that. He was secretly shocked. This guy is worthy of being able to kill the eight-clawed demonic dragon. His strength is indeed terrifying. However, I am in the dark and you are in the light. You can only regretfully die in my hands. After saying that, 3 blood-red arrows suddenly appeared in senior brother Zhao's hand. These 3 arrows were sparkling and translucent. It seemed as if there was blood flowing inside them. Senior brother Xiao stroked the 3 arrows. His eyes flashed with a trace of pain. However, when he looked at Jun Haotian, his expression turned cold again. "These 3 blood soul arrows cost me tens of thousands of contribution points. I don't believe that you will be safe and sound under the blood soul sword." Whoosh! 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 3 unique arrows shot out amidst the rain of arrows, seemingly tearing apart the air in front of them. The terrifying force caused the surrounding forest to tremble slightly. Senior brother Xiao clenched his fists tightly. As long as one of these 3 arrows hit Jun Haotian and caused Jun Haotian to reveal a flaw, then Jun Haotian would definitely die. The 3 scarlet arrow shadows traversed through the air. Jun Haotian took a step forward and slightly rotated his sword. The ancient green summit sword was thrust out like a hot knife through butter. 3 sword shadows could be faintly seen. In an instant there were several sword shadows. Jun Haotian's control of the 9 tribulations sword technique had already reached perfection. The unparalleled sword energy directly collided with the 3 arrows. Clang! An astonishing gale swept out. A layer of the ground under Jun Haotian's feet immediately collapsed. Jun Haotian's entire body carried the force of 1,000 caddies as he shot forward. The ancient green peak sword in his hand danced in the air, causing the soil on the ground to fly up into the air. Sand and dust rolled as they soared into the sky. Senior brother Xiao frowned slightly. He didn't expect Jun Haotian to be able to dodge so easily. The rolling sand and dust completely covered Jun Haotian's figure. The young man said resolutely, "Retreat. Retreat. Senior brother Xiao, are you going to give up so easily?" The disciple of the Shooting Sun sect said unwillingly. Retreat quickly if you don't want to die. Senior Brother Xiao said coldly. He turned around and was about to leave when he was shocked to see a white-robed figure appear in his line of sight like a ghost. That handsome face with a bright smile made him feel a chill run down his spine. When did he appear? Who are you? Jun Haoyan smiled brightly at the young man. However, his black eyes were filled with cold killing intent. I don't think I've offended you. That, sir, we're disciples of the Shooting Sun sect. This is a misunderstanding. I thought you were an enemy of ours, so. Senior Brother Xiao said awkwardly. He forced a smile on his stiff face. Is that so? So it's a misunderstanding. Upon hearing this, Jun Haoyan's long black hair danced wildly in the wind. The light that seeped out of his eyes was like a blade that pressed on the young man. Swoosh! The sound of a sword clanging resounded. In the next moment, Jun Haoyan raised his hand, and the ancient green peak sword was slightly raised. It was like a swimming dragon as it flew out, and went straight for the throat of a disciple of the Shooting Sun sect. The momentum was like a falling star. The momentum of Jun Haoyan's sword was vividly displayed. The sword light flickered slightly, and a scream immediately resounded through the forest. Blood splattered everywhere. The disciple of the Shooting Sun sect, who looked a little unwilling, fell to the ground and died. I'm sorry. This is also a misunderstanding. Jun Haoyan stepped on the blood, and wiped the blood on the blade indifferently. He continued to walk forward. His voice had a unique rhythm, which made Senior Brother Zhao's face change slightly. At this moment, Jun Haoyan's slender and thin figure was like a demon in the eyes of the disciples of the Shooting Sun sect. Little junior brother. Seeing that the disciple of the Shooting Sun sect had died tragically, the rest of the disciples roared angrily. Their eyes were red. Damn it. Senior brothers, if you have the guts, avenge little junior brother. No matter how strong he is, he's only one person. I don't believe that our entire team can't kill him. Yes, I don't believe that he can kill our entire team alone. The disciples of the Shooting Sun sect roared in a low voice. However, no one took the initiative to attack. Chapter 39. Jun Haoyan sneered. Then, he rushed into the crowd of disciples of the Shooting Sun sect like a ghost. The sharp green peak ancient sword directly slashed the neck of a Shooting Sun sect disciple. Without a sound, it was natural and smooth. In an instant, blood spurted out, and a head flew into the sky. Sorry, it's still a misunderstanding. Jun Haoyan smirked, and continued to move forward calmly. His footsteps were not messy at all. The green peak ancient sword, dripping with blood, suddenly tore the young man's body into two halves with a sword momentum that could split mountains. Jun Haoyan's fluttering white figure directly swept past the two halves of the corpse. It was only after Jun Haoyan had consecutively slashed out several times that the two halves of the corpse finally fell to the ground. Blood splattered everywhere as anguished wails and screams reverberated throughout the boundless forest. Ah! A mournful scream suddenly reverberated in the forest. Jun Haoyan's attack could be said to be merciless. When the other Shooting Sun sect disciples saw this scene, their faces changed drastically. Jun Haoyan's ruthless way of attacking sent chills down their spines. This guy was going all out to kill them. Senior Brother Xiao was furious when he saw his junior brother die tragically. He shouted, "Damn it!" Before he could finish his words, Senior Brother Zhao's body suddenly soared into the air and shot an arrow straight at Jun Haoyan's throat. Scorching sun style. The sharp arrow was as dazzling as the sun. Senior Brother Xiao was able to lead a team of Shooting Sun sect disciples, so his strength was naturally extraordinary. He had completely combined his physical strength and cultivation in this attack. The arrow was like a rainbow as it swept down. The surviving Shooting Sun sect disciples took a few steps back. They knew how terrifying Senior Brother Zhao's arrow was. This arrow style was a secret technique of the Shooting Sun sect. It was from the secret scripture of the Shooting Sun sect, the Shooting Sun arrow skill. The sharp wind swept down from the sky. Jun Haoyan's white robe fluttered in the wind. Senior Brother Xiao saw a cold smile on his face. In the next moment, Jun Haoyan's eyes flashed with a trace of coldness, and the long sword in his hand suddenly danced. A sword ray that looked like a rainbow suddenly soared into the sky with a majestic aura. The sixth move of the Nine Tribulations sword. Cut off the worldly affairs of the world, the edge of the blade everywhere, everything ends. Clang! The two streaks of sword light and arrow light that spanned across the sky exploded with dazzling sword light. They collided fiercely, and the sound of metal clashing resounded through the sky. In an instant, a terrifying wave of sword chi swept out like a stormy sea. The surrounding forest was destroyed by the sword chi, and the trees were all destroyed. Even the roots of the trees were filled with sword scars. Amidst the dazzling sword light, Jun Haotian's lips curled into a devilish smile. The ancient green peak sword in his hand once again swept down diagonally. You still have energy left. There was a trace of blood at the corner of senior brother Zhao's mouth, as he looked at Jun Haotian in horror. In his perception, Jun Haotian's move was extremely slow. However, what shocked him was that he couldn't dodge the sword no matter how hard he tried. Helpless, senior brother Zhao could only instinctively raise his right arm and block Jun Haotian's sword. Clang! A series of sparks burst out. Senior brother Zhao only felt that his body was being rammed by thousands of soldiers and horses. The long sword in his hand flew out of his hand uncontrollably. On the other hand, Jun Haotian's figure flew over like a celestial being. Under the astonished gaze of several people, Jun Haotian's fair left hand accurately grabbed senior brother Zhao's long sword and threw it out like a spear. Puff! At such a close distance, senior brother Zhao had no room to dodge at all. He could only watch helplessly as his long sword pierced through his chest. The terrifying force carried by the sword directly flung senior brother Zhao's body dozens of meters away. In the end, he stared fiercely at the ancient tree in the distance. The ancient tree trembled violently, and endless leaves swirled in the air. Blood splattered everywhere, and the withered yellow bark instantly turned scarlet. Ah! Such a bloody scene immediately sent chills down the spines of the surviving Shooting Sun sect's disciples. However, the long sword in Jun Haotian's hand didn't stop at all. Like a ruthless executioner, he continued to swing the long sword. Every slash of the sword would send a head flying into the air. After a while, there were no more screams at the scene. At this point, the group of Shooting Sun sect's disciples that attacked Jun Haotian had been completely annihilated by Jun Haotian. After killing so many people, Jun Haotian's face was expressionless. He slowly wiped the bloodstains on the green summit ancient sword. In the next moment, his gaze swept across the forest in the distance like a sharp blade. He said indifferently, "You've been sneaking around for so long. Haven't you seen enough?" The hanging tree vines swayed slightly. Immediately, a couple of soft laughter sounded from within the sea of trees. "Tsk, you are indeed worthy of being an expert who could kill the eight-clawed tyrant dragon. The few of us have already withdrawn our auras, yet you are still able to discover our location, even though we are dozens of feet away." Whoosh! Whoosh! Numerous silhouettes flashed out from the vast forest and landed on the treetops. Looking down at Jun Haotian condescendingly, Jun Haotian looked at the silhouettes that appeared, and his heart sank. These people were the disciples of the proud Sword Villa. Among them, the leader was a young man wearing blue martial arts clothes. His face seemed gentle, but his eyes revealed a sense of arrogance. The blue-clothed young man looked at Jun Haotian with a playful expression, the corner of his mouth slightly raised. "Sir, as the saying goes, those who see it have a share. We should also have a share of the eight-clawed tyrant dragon's corpse." As the blue-clothed young man spoke, he slowly clenched his fist. An incomparably powerful aura was emitted from his body. The other 9 disciples of the proud Sword Villa also took a step forward. Several auras soared into the sky and gathered together to oppress others. Jun Haotian heard the threatening tone in the young man's words, and his face instantly became gloomy. Jun Haotian raised the green hornet ancient sword in his hand and said slowly, "I'm afraid you guys are not qualified." At this moment, a few chuckles rang out from the forest again. "Then with us, you should be qualified, right?" At this moment, a few silhouettes appeared in the forest again. These people were wearing the dark sect's clothes. They were obviously the disciples of the dark sect. I didn't expect the disciples of the dark sect and the proud Sword Villa to gather here. Seeing this scene, Jun Haoyan's pupils shrank, and his tone was cold. Sir, now we should be qualified. The blue-clothed young man from the Proud Sword Villa had a confident smile on his face. He said indifferently, "How about this? I can let you have the 8-clawed tyrant dragon's corpse, but you have to agree to one of my requests." What request? Hearing this, Jun Haoyan frowned and asked doubtfully. Join our team. The blue-clothed young man said slowly. Join you? Jun Haoyan's tone was strange. He didn't expect the other party to make such a request. That's right. We, the Proud Sword Villa and the Dark Sect, welcome an expert like you, the blue-clothed young man said with a smile on his face. Seeing the blue-clothed young man so enthusiastic, Jun Haoyan could vaguely guess the plans of the Proud Sword Villa and the Dark Sect. Gu Yi and Jian Fengyan knew that they were no match for Jun Haoyan, so they wanted to gather all the experts in the ruins to deal with Jun Haoyan together. Okay, I agree to join you. Thinking of this, Jun Haoyan agreed straightforwardly. It was still the same saying, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. Since they had a common enemy, why couldn't they cooperate? Haha, a wise man submits to circumstances. Sir, you definitely won't be disappointed. Seeing Jun Haoyan agree, the blue-clothed young man immediately laughed heartily. It's my honor to cooperate with big forces like the Proud Sword Villa and the Dark Sect. Jun Haoyan suddenly thought of something, and the corners of his mouth curled up. There was a hint of flattery in his tone. Ha ha ha. Then Lan Yu wishes us a happy cooperation. By the way, I still don't know your name. The blue-clothed young man said with a smile on his face. My name is Jun Haoyan. Jun Haoyan said lightly. Haha. Welcome Brother Haoyan to join our lineup. When we return, I'll recommend you to Senior Brother Gu and Senior Brother Jian. Lan Yu walked over and pulled Jun Haoyan with a face full of enthusiasm. Okay, then I'll have to trouble you. Netherworld Lake. It was as calm as usual. Bang! Suddenly, a red figure broke out of the water, causing ripples on the surface of the lake. This figure was naturally Nalan Shui, who had entered the Netherworld Lake a few days ago. At this moment, Nalan Shui's face was full of excitement, and her beautiful face was flushed red. Now that I have the Netherworld mystic fire, I should find a place to refine it. Nalan Shui muttered with a fiery heart. Then Nalan Shui moved and flew toward the shore of the Netherworld Lake. Buzz! At this moment, a sharp sound of something breaking through the air was suddenly heard. Nalan Shui had a bad feeling. She turned her gaze, and a look of horror appeared on her face. She saw an extremely sharp and huge palm print breaking through the void, heading straight for her. From the momentum of this palm, Nalan Shui could determine that the person who attacked her in secret was definitely stronger than her. With a thought, a silver spear suddenly appeared in Nalan Shui's hand. Flickering light shadow. In the next moment, Nalan Shui waved the spear in her hand, and a sharp spear shadow, with lightning suddenly collided with the incoming palm print. Bang! When the two collided, Nalan Shui felt her jade-like hand go numb, and a strong force came from the silver spear. Under the effect of this huge force, Nalan Shui's body directly slid on the surface of the lake for more than 10 meters, causing a splash. Sneak attack, what kind of hero are you? Nalan Shui's face was extremely ugly, and she shouted at the void. Hee, as expected of the #1 genius of the Great Yin Empire. You've only been in the ruins for a few days, and you've already broken through to the true energy realm. A hearty laugh sounded in the void, and then a figure soared into the sky, standing in the air. A majestic and vigorous true energy swept out from his body. Gui, seeing this figure, Nalan Shui's expression changed drastically. She said in disbelief. How did you know I was at the bottom of the Netherworld Lake? Hee. Now that the entire ruins are filled with spies from my Nether sect and the Proud Sword Villa, even the slightest movement of the wind and grass can't be hidden from me, Gui said with a faint smile on his face. Nalan Shui, for the sake of the Jade Lake sacred ground, hand over the things you obtained at the bottom of the Netherworld Lake, and I'll let you go. Do you think that's possible? Hearing this, Nalan Shui's face turned cold as she said coldly. However, she was a little anxious in her heart. This Gu Yi had obviously come prepared, and it would be difficult for her to escape today. Princess Nalan, you have to think carefully. You only have one chance. Seeing Nalan Shui, or reject him without even thinking, Gu Yi's originally gentle face also became somewhat cold. Brother Gu, what nonsense are you talking about? Just kill her and seize the treasure. At this moment, another figure soared into the sky and soared through the air. Nalan Shui, focused her gaze and her expression became even more unsightly. The person who came was the genius disciple of the proud sword Villa, Jian Fengyan. Jian Fengyan stood in the air, holding a treasured sword with both hands as he stared coldly at Nalan Shui. Hee brother Jian, this Gu has always been protective of women. Wouldn't it be a pity to kill a beauty like Princess Nalan just like that? Hearing this, Gu Yi's eyes kept wandering around Nalan Shui's beautiful body, and said with a face full of ridicule, Princess Nalan, you have to think carefully. This treasure, are you going to hand it over or not? It's impossible for me to hand over the treasure. Feeling Gu Yi's gaze, a trace of killing intent flashed across Nalan Shui's eyes as she said coldly, since that's the case, brother Jian, you can make your move. Seeing that his suggestion had been rejected by Nalan Shui, time and time again, Gu Yi also lost his patience and said to Jian Fengyan with an indifferent tone, it should have been like this long ago. Hearing this, Jian Fengyan's right hand suddenly gripped the treasured sword in his hand. Boundless true essence surged out from his body in an instant and lingered around the sword's body. The long sword in his hand was as resplendent as the sun, and its light was the sword beam. A sword separated the world. Swish! Before he finished speaking, Jian Fengyan stomped his feet, and a dazzling sword rainbow appeared in the sky. It tore through the air and slashed down towards Nalan Shui. Nalan Shui only felt a tyrannical and sharp aura descending from the sky. Then, the dazzling sword rainbow appeared above her. Terrifying arcs of air appeared on both sides of the sword rainbow. Nalan Shui's face suddenly turned pale. The silver spear in her hand tore through the air like lightning. Like a bolt of black lightning, it shot towards the sword rainbow. However, before her silver spear could even touch the sword rainbow, it was bounced back by the boundless power, and was pushed back dozens of meters. Jian Fengyan, Nalan Shui's bright eyes were filled with a biting cold killing intent. She retreated backwards, temporarily avoiding Jian Fengyan's attack. At the same time, the golden spear was raised into the air. Bolts of lightning flashed out, and directly fused with the incomparably sharp spear light. In the end, like a lightning snake, it collided with the sword rainbow that was slashing down with an extremely fast and violent posture. Clang! The two collided, and an ear-piercing clang sound immediately reverberated, shaking the air to the point that it made a whining sound. In the next moment, Nalan Shui's figure retreated dozens of meters. A trace of bright red blood flowed out from the corner of her mouth. Humph! Nalan Shui stared coldly at Jian Fengyan and said fiercely, Jian Fengyan, I will remember this sword strike. In the next moment, Nalan Shui leaped into the netherworld lake. Damn it! Seeing this scene, Gu Yi and Jian Fengyan's faces immediately became extremely gloomy. They could never understand why Nalan Shui was able to enter and exit the netherworld lake so casually. Chapter 40. Brother Jian, what do we do now? We've already been delayed for a few days. We can't waste any more time here. Gu Yi said as he looked at the calm lake. He and Jian Fengyan had been guarding this place ever since they received the news. However, they didn't expect the duck to fly away. Gu Yi even wanted to rush into the lake. However, he calmed down when he thought about the strangeness of the lake. Immediately send someone to seal off the entire lake. If Nalan Shui comes out, try to hold her back and wait for us. Jian Fengyan's cold face turned pale. As the pride of the proud sword Villa, he naturally couldn't tolerate a martial artist who had just entered the true energy realm escaping from his hands. That's the only way, Gu Yi said helplessly. The most important thing now is to find the location of the ancient bronze palace. Gu Yi's face turned even uglier when he thought about how he had wasted the past few days. By the way, how many experts have you recruited? Jian Fengyan suddenly asked. 6 true energy realm 2nd level, and 1 true energy realm 3rd level. Gu Yi's face turned slightly better when he heard that. So little, Jian Fengyan frowned. This is already quite a lot. There are less than 10 2nd level true energy realm martial artists who entered the ancient ruins this time. Gu Yi said helplessly when he saw that Jian Fengyan was still not satisfied. Speaking up to this point, he paused for a moment before continuing. That true element stage 3rd level cultivator was lucky enough to obtain a stock of spirit herb. This ancient ruins has existed for many years. It's not surprising to obtain a spiritual medicine, Jian Fengyan said. Is there any news about Jun Outyan? Ever since we entered the ruins, Jun Outyan seemed to have evaporated from the world. There's no trace of him. Gu Yi shook his head and said slowly. There are only 5 Qingyan sacred ground disciples who entered the ruins this time. They are few in number, and it's hard for us to find them if they want to hide. Jian Fengyan said calmly. Sigh, I feel uneasy when there's no trace of Jun Outyan. As Gu Yi spoke, a trace of worry appeared on his face. Jun Outyan's strength had always been a big problem for him. He couldn't be at ease if he didn't get rid of Jun Outyan. Brother Gu, you don't have to be so worried. Jian Fengyan was displeased when he saw Gu Yi so disappointed. With our current strength, we might be able to defeat Jun Aotian. Clasping his hands behind his back, Jian Fengyan had a faint smile on his face. He spoke with confidence. I have already mastered the last move of my proud sword manner's unparalleled sword art. The million swords returned to origin. With my cloud-soaring sword and your help, I believe I can defeat Jun Outyan. I hope so. Hearing Jian Fengyan's confident tone, Gu Yi's expression became slightly better. Forget it, let's go back first. I've been guarding here for a few days and I'm tired. As the two of them spoke, Gu Yi's tone was somewhat helpless. Jian Fengyan nodded. Then, the two of them flew towards the north of the Nether Lake. There was a huge and majestic mountain peak that was several thousand feet tall, piercing through the clouds. Streaks of blood-red light shot up into the sky, rushing into the rolling black fog. It was a mournful scarlet color, and it was exceptionally sinister. The night was like water, and the bright moon was high in the sky. The clear and cold moonlight broke through the clouds and swayed down, enveloping the entire divine restriction. A low roar resounded from the mountains and rivers, echoing between heaven and earth, setting off the chill of the night. Clusters of bonfires slowly burned, dispelling the coldness of the night. The sunset abyss was the temporary encampment of the Proud Sword Villa and the Nether sect. Jian Fengyan and Gu Yi flew very quickly, and after a while, the two of them arrived at the sunset abyss. Senior brother Gu, senior brother Lan Yu has news. As soon as Gu Yi entered the sunset abyss, a disciple of the Nether sect hurriedly handed over a letter. Oh, hearing this, Gu Yi's eyes lit up, and he said with a smile on his face, could it be that he has recruited another expert? The reason he sent Lan Yu out was to recruit experts from various powers. Now that Lan Yu had sent a letter, there was most likely some news. Thinking this in his heart, Gu Yi slowly opened the letter and read it carefully. Ha ha ha, Lan Yu really didn't disappoint me. This kid has done a great service this time. A moment later, Gu Yi let out a carefree laugh. Brother Gu, what happened? Seeing Gu Yi's appearance, Jian Fengyan asked in surprise. Even when he recruited that 3rd-level true element realm martial artist last time, Gu Yi did not lose his composure like this. Lan Yu, this brat, has recruited an extraordinary person this time, Gu Yi said with joy in his voice. If what Lan Yu described in the letter was true, then their chances of winning against Jun Outyan this time would be even higher. Incredible? How incredible is it? Hearing Gu Yi's words, Jian Fengyan raised his eyebrows and said with a meaningful tone, just who was it that could make Gu Yi, a genius of the Nether sect, say the word incredible? Lan Yu sent a message saying that this person has a cultivation of the 3rd level of the true element realm, and can even kill a 4th level true element realm fierce beast. Gu Yi said with a smile on his face, Humph, I can kill an ordinary 4th level true element realm fierce beast with a casual swing of my sword. Hearing this, Jian Fengyan's expression immediately became somewhat disappointed, and his tone carried a trace of contempt. As a genius of the Proud Sword Villa, He had never lacked high-level cultivation techniques and origin tools since he was young. Fighting above his level was a common occurrence for him, and it was extremely easy. What if it was the 8-clawed tyrant dragon? Gui smiled and said meaningfully, "What? You mean?" Jian Fengyan was stunned when he heard this, and then a trace of shock appeared on his face as he said in disbelief, "That's right. This person killed the 4th-level True Element Realm, 8-clawed tyrant dragon, with a cultivation of the 3rd-level True Element Realm." Gui said slowly with a trace of surprise in his tone. Hearing this, Jian Fengyan's originally calm expression changed. There is actually such a person who entered the ruins this time. After a long while, Jian Fengyan sighed. The 8-clawed tyrant dragon was an overlord existence among fierce beasts. It was powerful and had the ability to fight above its level. The 4th-level True Element Realm, 8-clawed tyrant dragon definitely had the strength of a 5th-level True Element Realm martial artist. That person was able to defeat the 4th-level True Element Realm, 8-clawed tyrant dragon. So he definitely had the strength of a 5th-level True Element Realm martial artist. This kind of strength was enough to be on equal footing with them. "Brother Jian, you must not underestimate others." Seeing Jian Fengyan's strange expression, Gui immediately reminded him. "Yes." Hearing this, Jian Fengyan nodded his head and said with an indifferent expression, "If this person really has such strength, I will definitely sincerely befriend him. If you dare to deceive me, then don't blame me for being merciless." Jian Fengyan's sword-like eyebrows rose on his handsome face, like an unsheathed sword. Jian Fengyan's face instantly became incomparably cold, and his gaze became as sharp as a blade. Chapter 41. Northwest of the relic on top of a magma volcano. Boom! At the top of the volcano, countless vital essences surged out. The vital essences were filled with yin and yang energy. The thick yin and yang vital essences gathered in the air and slowly formed a huge Tai Chi 8 trigram seal. The surging vital energy of heaven and earth poured in like a tidal wave. It was a spectacular scene. Under the Tai Chi 8 trigram seal formed by the terrifying yin and yang energy, a tall figure stood with his hands behind his back. This man was dressed in a purple martial robe. Although his face was rather ordinary, his star-like eyes were exceptionally bright. The man's expression was calm as he looked at the surging magma below him and the violent energy surging. The man was Jun Outyin, who had disappeared after entering the relic. At this moment, Jun Outyin looked coldly at the surging magma in front of him. A huge creature was coming out. The magma was dozens of meters deep, and a huge ferocious beast was coming out with a ferocious aura. It was a huge flaming beast that was hundreds of meters long. The huge beast was covered in thick magma, as if there was a raging fire roasting the beast. The beast was not afraid of the terrifying magma at all. The magma wrapped around its body seemed to be burning the air in the air. Geocentric flame Japalura. Jun Outyin looked at the beast that was coming out of the magma with a burning look in his eyes. In the next moment, a yuan seal filled with yin and yang energy formed in Jun Outyin's hand. Boom! Jun Outyin threw the yin and yang yuan seal into the Tai Chi 8 trigram seal. In the next moment, the Tai Chi 8 trigram seal that was hovering in the air suddenly spun violently, drawing all the vital energy of heaven and earth over. Roar! Feeling the terrifying aura from the Tai Chi 8 trigram seal, the flaming beast let out a terrifying roar. Obviously, it was furious at Jun Outyin's provocation. In the next moment, the geocentric flame Japalura opened its mouth and sucked in the magma. Under the ferocious suction of the geocentric flame Japalura, a large amount of magma was sucked into its stomach. Roar! In the next moment, the geocentric flame Japalura roared at Jun Outyin, who was on the mountain peak. A beam of lava shot out of the geocentric flame Japalura's mouth, heading straight for Jun Outyin. If that's all, then the demonic core in your body is mine. Jun Outyin's expression did not change at all as he looked at the flaming beam that was rushing towards him. His cold words slowly came out of his mouth. Then he waved his hands and made a series of abstruse and mysterious hand seals. As Jun Outyin sent out his hand seal, the huge Taiji 8 trigram seal in the sky immediately shot out a violent yin and yang energy. The majestic yin and yang energy transformed into a torrent. Wherever it passed, even the void trembled. In the next moment, the torrent of yin and yang energy collided with the geocentric flame Japalura's flame beam. Boom! Magma splattered everywhere as the void trembled violently. An energy that could destroy heaven and earth suddenly exploded in the void. Rumble! Countless cracks appeared on the ground, and a large number of rocks rolled down from the mountain peak with great momentum. Roar! The geocentric flame Japalura roared and shot out another thick beam of lava from its mouth. The geocentric flame Japalura flapped its wings and flew up into the sky. Like a meteor, it streaked across the sky and headed straight for Junoutyan. Billowing heat waves swept over, and the surrounding temperature suddenly skyrocketed. The terrifying energy seemed to be tearing the sky apart, causing the void to distort. Even a martial artist at True Energy Realm LV5 could not possess such a terrifying aura. In the face of such a violent attack from the geocentric flame Japalua, Junoutyan's expression did not change at all. His eyes were still cold. Yin-yang life and death seal. With a thought, the Taiji 8 trigram seal floating above Junoutyan suddenly shook slightly. In the next moment, a vast yin and yang energy shot out from the Taiji 8 trigram seal. The yin and yang energy torrent was endless, and finally, it transformed into a vital energy pillar that was hundreds of feet tall and crashed into the geocentric flame Japalura. Bang! The yin and yang energy torrent poured down and shot out violently. The lava around the geocentric flame Japalura quickly collapsed, and the huge vital energy pillar smashed onto the geocentric flame Japalura's body. The geocentric flame Japalura seemed to have suffered a heavy blow. Its huge body suddenly stopped in the void. Its originally red body quickly dimmed at this moment, and a layer of dead ash even appeared on its surface, especially under the scouring of the yin and yang forces. Swoosh! At this moment, Junoutyan's figure suddenly disappeared in the air, and in an instant, he appeared on the back of the geocentric flame Japalura. Blood Dragon Claw. His long black hair danced wildly, and Junoutyan's hands turned scarlet. A thick bloody light seeped out from his 10 fingers, causing his entire body to be bathed in the bloody light. It was demonic and eerie, like a demon god that had returned from a bloodbath. Before he even finished speaking, Junoutyan extended his right hand. It was as if he had turned into a blood-red bolt of lightning. He instantly grabbed the geocentric flame Japalura's body. The geocentric flame Japalura immediately wailed. Junoutyan's right claw actually broke through its defense and forcefully tore open its tough body. In an instant, hot and scarlet blood spurted out, dyeing the sky red. A terrifying energy seeped out from Junoutyan's right hand, wildly destroying the geocentric flame Japalura's body. When Junoutyan stretched out his right hand, the geocentric flame Japalura's body suddenly burst open, and a bloody mist filled the air. At this moment, Junoutyan's eyes were burning as he stared at his right hand. On his palm, a palm-sized monster core appeared. This was the geocentric flame Japalura's monster core, and it was filled with extremely violent energy. With this geocentric flame Japalura's monster core, my strength will rise to another level. Staring at the monster core, a rare smile appeared on Junoutyan's indifferent face, but it quickly disappeared. He turned around and looked at the sky. There a figure rushed over. "Senior Brother Outyan, I have something important to report." Before the figure arrived, his voice had already reverberated throughout the area. Junoutyan kept the monster core in his storage ring and said slowly, "What's the matter?" The person who came was a young man of about 25 or 26 years old. This young man had a shocked expression on his face. Looking at the broken corpse of the geocentric flame Japalura below, he swallowed hard. In such a short period of time, Senior Brother Outyan had actually killed the geocentric flame Japalura. One must know that the geocentric flame Japalura was equivalent to a martial artist at the 5th level of the True Energy Realm. In the entire Qingyan sacred ground, among the younger generation, I'm afraid only a few monsters can be compared to Senior Brother Outyan. The young man sighed in his heart. However, when he recalled the news he had received earlier, a cautious expression appeared on his face. "Senior Brother Outyan, During this period of time, Gu Yi and Jian Fengyan have been guarding the Netherworld Lake. Netherworld Lake? Why are they guarding the Netherworld Lake? Hearing this, a hint of doubt appeared on Jun Haotian's face. According to the news I've heard, they are here for Nalen Schwer. The young man replied slowly. Nalen Schwer? Hearing this, Jun Haotian's expression turned cold. He frowned slightly and said coldly, "What's going on? I don't know what treasure Nalen Schwer obtained, but she can enter the bottom of the Netherworld Lake at will." The young man said indifferently, "Senior brother Haotian, you also know that with the strangeness of the Netherworld Lake, there must be something underneath. Gu Yi and Jian Fengyan are guarding the Netherworld Lake for the treasure Nalen Schwer, or obtained from the bottom of the Netherworld Lake." Chapter 42. The vast sea of clouds stretched as far as the eye could see. A flying ship broke through the layers of clouds and mist, wantonly moving forward at an extremely fast speed in the boundless sea of clouds. The hanging autumn sun dyed the misty clouds with the most resplendent golden color, like ribbons decorating the mottled world. With his hands behind his back, Jun Haotian looked at the scenery below the flying ship with an indifferent expression. From top to bottom, Jun Haotian's line of sight gradually brightened. Below the flying ship, an endless expanse of land appeared in his field of vision. Mountains and ravines crisscrossed each other. The boundless sea of trees flourished, and an ancient aura filled the world. Occasionally, a waterfall that was like the Milky Way would rumble down, surging forward magnificently. "Brother Haotian, I have already sent someone to send a message to Senior Brother Gu. He has already set up a banquet at the Sunset Abyss to welcome you." Inside the flying ship, Lan Yu's black hair fluttered in the wind, and a gentle smile remained on his face. "Many thanks, Brother Lan. I'm ashamed to accept Brother Lan's kindness." Hearing this, Jun Haotian's face revealed a trace of shame. "What are you talking about? With Brother Haotian's strength, he is worthy of this honor." Lan Yu looked at Jun Haotian with admiration in his eyes. It was truly rare for this person to be so modest with his strength. That day, Lan Yu had seen the battle between Jun Haotian and the eight-clawed tyrant dragon. He firmly believed in Jun Haotian's strength. "Brother Lan thinks too highly of me." Seeing that Lan Yu was so full of praise for him, Jun Haotian was also somewhat helpless. He had also guessed in his heart that Lan Yu had probably reported all of his battle achievements to Gu Yi and Jian Fengyan. That was why he had specially prepared a welcoming party for him. Facing the powerful Juneo Tian, they urgently needed a helper with strength like his. Juneo Tian. Thinking of Juneo Tian, Jun Haotian's heart also felt heavy. For the son of destiny to encounter an ancient ruin, any kind of miracle could happen. Perhaps Jun Haotian had already obtained some kind of spirit fruit of heaven and earth, or some kind of treasure, which had greatly increased his strength. "Right, may I know which Holy Land Brother Haotian's sect is from? With Brother Haotian's strength, you should be a genius in your sect, right?" At this moment, Lan Yu asked with a slightly probing tone. Although Jun Haotian wore the bronze mask all along, Lan Yu could sense that Jun Haotian's age was not very old. Being able to defeat the eight-clawed tyrant dragon at such a young age, Lan Yu couldn't help but suspect Jun Haotian's background. "Brother Lan, there's no need to flatter me. Within the sect, I'm considered to be the one with the worst talent." Hearing this, a strange look flashed across Jun Haotian's eyes. Soon after, he made a bitter smile. He answered very cleverly, not answering Lan Yu's question, but also not refuting. "Haha, Brother Hao is still as humble as ever." Seeing that Jun Haotian could not reveal anything, Lan Yu felt a little helpless, but in his heart, he was almost certain that Jun Haotian came from the 7 great sacred grounds. Time quickly passed by as Jun Haotian and Lan Yu chatted. "All right, we've arrived at the Sunset Abyss." In the evening, Lan Yu suddenly spoke. Jun Haotian looked down with rapt attention, only to see a dark valley below. At this moment, sparks were flying in the valley, and human figures were swaying. Sunset Abyss. A cool breeze blew, and the bonfire was bright. The entire valley was filled with flames as bright as day. The crowd was bustling, and the disciples of the various sects were gathered around the bonfire. In order to deal with Jun Haotian, Gu Yi and Jian Fengyan put down their arrogance as disciples of the great sects, and condescended to befriend some disciples of the lower sects or rogue cultivators. The reason he gathered these people in the sunset abyss was naturally so that when he fought with Jun Haotian, there would be cannon fodder blocking in front of them. At this moment, in the sunset abyss, most of the disciples of the same sect were gathered together, but there were also a few disciples who were good at communicating with others. The entire valley was filled with the faint fragrance of wine and meat. There were even young women in clothes that did not cover their bodies, dancing gracefully in front of the bonfire. Their moving curves and graceful dance were too much for the eyes to take in. When Lan Yu brought Jun Haotian into the sunset abyss, the scene in front of him made him frown. He glanced around, but he did not find Gu Yi and Jian Fengyun. "Where's senior brother Gu?" He pulled a disciple of the nether sect and asked. "Senior brother Gu and senior brother Jian just went out for some matters. He said that the banquet will continue, and that he will be back soon. He ordered us to properly entertain your excellency Haotian." Lan Yu's status among these nether sect disciples was not low. Seeing Lan Yu ask, this nether sect disciple did not dare to be negligent and slowly explained. Hearing this, Lan Yu's expression became somewhat unsightly. In the letter he mentioned with certainty that Jun Haotian was an expert, and suggested that Gu Yi and Jian Fengyun personally entertain him. But now, it seemed that Gu Yi and Jian Fengyun did not take his words to heart. "Since that's the case, brother Haotian, let's drink and eat meat first. When senior brother Gu returns, I'll introduce you to him." Although he was angry in his heart, with his status, he was unable to flare up. He could only sigh inwardly and force out a smile as he politely spoke to Jun Haotian. At the same time, he also had some doubts in his heart. He had been by Gu Yi's side for a few years and understood that Gu Yi was not a muddle-headed person. He had already emphasized this in his letter, so he should not neglect brother Haotian like this. All right then. Jun Haotian naturally did not care, and nodded his head. After that, Lan Yu led Jun Haotian towards a seat in the front row. "Brother Lan, you're back." As they walked, a person walked towards them and greeted Lan Yu. This person was dressed in black and held a long sword in his hand. His face was somewhat dark, and when he greeted Lan Yu, his gaze was more focused on Jun Haotian. "So it's brother Gu. I wonder if brother Gu is used to staying in the sunset abyss?" When Lan Yu saw the person who came, a smile appeared on his face as he greeted him warmly. This person's name was Gu Gu, and his cultivation was at the second level of the true element realm. He was originally a rogue cultivator, but was later recruited by Lan Yu to the sunset abyss. "Brother Gu treats people sincerely, so I naturally feel comfortable." Gu Gu's mind was obviously not on Lan Yu, and he reluctantly responded, then placed his gaze on Jun Haotian. Could it be the expert that brother Lan brought back this time? "That's right, brother Gu. Let me introduce you. This is brother Haotian. His strength is unfathomable." Hearing this, Lan Yu immediately introduced the two of them to each other. "Brother Haotian, this is brother Gu, a genius disciple of the Heavenly Sword sect. I've heard a lot about you." Jun Haotian looked at Gu Gu. He could tell that the person in front of him seemed to have some sort of goal, but he remained calm in his heart. A sincere smile appeared on Jun Haotian's face. "Brother Haotian, why are you wearing a mask to meet people? Are you looking down on us?" After staring at Jun Haotian for a while, Gu Gu thought of the instructions that Gu Yi had given him before he left. His expression suddenly became mocking, and his tone also became somewhat aggressive. Chapter 43. Brother Gu. Hearing that something was wrong with Gu Zhen's tone, Lan Yu immediately interrupted him and stood up to explain for Jun Haotian. "Brother Haotian naturally has his reasons for wearing a mask. Why do you have to get to the bottom of it?" After he finished speaking, Lan Yu was afraid that Jun Haotian would hold a grudge against him, so he comforted Jun Haotian. "Brother Jun Haotian." Brother Gu was also curious for a moment. He didn't have any ill intentions. "Please don't take offense. Brother Lan is being too polite. It's just a small matter. How can you say that it's strange?" Hearing this, Jun Haotian took a deep look at Gu Zhen, then chuckled and said with an indifferent expression, "Brother Lan is right. I do have some difficulties wearing this bronze mask. I hope that Brother Gu can understand. Soon after, Jun Haoyan turned his gaze to Gu Zhen and said with an apologetic tone. Although he didn't know why Gu Zhen was filled with hostility towards him, this didn't stop Jun Haoyan from earning Lan Yu's favor. Difficulties? Hearing this, Gu Zhen raised his eyebrows, and his tone once again became strange. What difficulties? I'm just afraid that some people have done something wrong, and are afraid to see others with their true faces. Brother Gu, what do you mean by this? Hearing Gu Zhen's words, Jun Haoyan couldn't help but narrow his eyes, and a cold aura emitted from his body. The other party had openly provoked him. If he were to swallow his anger, it would seem that he had ulterior motives, and that his schemes were impure. Brother Gu. At this moment, Lan Yu could also tell that this Gu Zhen was clearly targeting Jun Haoyan. Thinking of this, no matter how good Lan Yu's temper was, he couldn't help but feel angry. What do you mean by this? Brother Haoyan is an esteemed guest that I invited back. If you insult him like this, you are looking down on me. Lan Yu glared at Gu Zhen, his face becoming extremely gloomy. Brother Lan. Seeing Lan Yu's furious appearance, Gu Zhen immediately felt a little guilty and secretly complained in his heart. However, when he thought about the conditions that Gu Yi had agreed to, his heart couldn't help but palpitate. Brother Lan, why are you so angry? I'm doing this for your sake. Gu Zhen looked at Lan Yu with a pained expression, as if he was doing this for his own good. He looked at Jun Haoyan and belittled him without hesitation. If this person is some shady character, the one who will be implicated in the end will be you, Brother Lan. Brother Gu, if you continue to spout nonsense, then we won't be friends anymore. Seeing that Gu Zhen's words were even more excessive, Lan Yu was so angry that his face turned ashen. I also want to know what Brother Gu means. How did I become the shady person you speak of? Jun Haoyan stared coldly at Gu Gu as he prepared to unsheath his ancient green hornet sword. If Brother Gu doesn't have an explanation for this matter, then don't blame me for being merciless. Brother Haoyan, please don't. Seeing that Jun Haoyan was truly enraged, Lan Yu became anxious and was about to persuade him. Brother Lan, there's no need to talk nonsense with him. Gu Zhen interrupted Lan Yu and snorted coldly. He looked at Jun Haoyan with an unfriendly gaze. I want to see how merciless you are. Brother Lan sent a letter saying that you're a sword expert. Gu Zhen's tone became more aggressive as he deliberately provoked Jun Haoyan. My Sky Sword sect is also a sword sect. I believe that my sword technique is not bad. Do you dare to compete with me? At the end, Gu Zhen even pulled out his treasured sword and stared at Jun Haoyan with a face full of fighting spirit. Gu Zhen Yu. Seeing that Gu Zhen was provoking Jun Haoyan, Lan Yu's face turned ashen, and he actually called Gu Zhen's name. Brother Lan. Jun Haoyan interrupted Lan Yu and said coldly, I was invited by Brother Lan, but I didn't expect to be humiliated like this. If I can't get justice with the sword in my hand today, then I'm a martial artist in vain. Brother Haoyan, this Lan has let you down. Hearing this, shame appeared on Lan Yu's face. He looked at Jun Haoyan with a complicated expression and said slowly, Brother Haoyan, is there really no other way to resolve this matter? Other than this, there's no other way. Jun Haoyan's face was calm, his breathing was even, and his clear eyes reflected his sharpness. Although I haven't stepped into the martial path for long, I know that as a swordsman, I should rather break than bend. I should rather break than bend. I should have a fearless heart. Jun Haoyan's voice was loud and clear. It was powerful and ear-piercing, and there was a sharpness that went straight to Lan Yu's heart. If a swordsman can't wash away the humiliation, then he's not worthy of practicing the sword. All right then. Hearing this, Lan Yu pondered for a moment and finally compromised. He looked at Gu Zhen and said coldly, Gu Zhen, I hope you know what's best for you. You brought all of this upon yourself. Seeing Lan Yu's cold eyes, Gu Zhen had a bad feeling and hurriedly said, Brother Lan, don't worry. We're only sparring. We'll stop when the time comes. Sparring? Hearing this, Jun Haoyan sneered and said coldly, No, my sword must see blood when it's unsheathed. Jun Haoyan's voice was as cold as the cold wind in the depths of winter, making Gu Zhen feel as if he was in an ice cellar. Brother Haotian, you must be joking. Gu Zhen laughed dryly and suggested to Jun Haotian. You and I are both Brother Lan's friends. No matter who hurts Brother Lan, he'll be sad. How about this? We won't use true yuan. We'll just compete with sword techniques, how about it? As you wish. Looking coldly at Gu Zhen, Jun Haotian slowly spat out 2 words. Hearing this, Gu Zhen's heart relaxed slightly. He was from the Sky Sword sect, and had been cultivating sword techniques since he was young. He had some confidence in his own sword techniques. Even if this guy is really that strong, it won't be easy for him to hurt me without using true yuan and only using sword techniques. After making up his mind, Gu Zhen slowly pulled out his sword and pointed at Jun Haotian. Brother Haotian, let's begin. Just use your sword. Jun Haotian said coldly. Then I won't hold back. Seeing this, Gu Zhen directly used the Sky Sword sect's secret technique, Sect Origin Swords. Whoosh! In the next moment, a sharp gust of wind blew as sword shadows enveloped Jun Haotian, like an inescapable net. Jun Haotian's body did not move at all as he quietly watched the sudden attack. His eyelids did not even blink, but his exposed eyes were filled with a faint chill. Whoosh! When the distance between the two was less than a meter, Jun Haotian, who had been standing still, suddenly moved. His right hand pulled out his sword at an incredible speed. A clanging sound suddenly rang out, and an incomparably bright sword light suddenly appeared. One ray of cold light pierces 10,000 fathoms. In an instant there was a sound. Poof! Gu Zhen's body suddenly fell to the ground. He did not even have time to scream before he turned into a cold corpse. There was a scarlet bloody hole in between his eyebrows, blood gushing out. When the sword was drawn, it must kill. Jun Haotian's expression did not change. He put away the Green Peak ancient sword, as if he had done something insignificant. However, blood lingered on the tip of his sword. Chapter 44. After killing Gu Gu with one strike, Jun Haotian's expression did not change at all. He slowly wiped the blood off the Green Peak ancient sword. Brother Haotian, Lan Yu's gaze was complicated as he looked at the lifeless Gu Zhen. His relationship with Gu Zhen wasn't that good, so he didn't feel sad for him. It was just that seeing the person he had painstakingly recruited die in front of him, he felt a little uncomfortable. Clang. Brother Lan, thank you for your warm hospitality along the way. If we meet again in the future, I will definitely invite Brother Lan for a few drinks. Sheathing his sword, Jun Haotian cupped his fists towards Lan Yu and prepared to leave the setting sun abyss. Wait! Seeing Jun Haotian about to leave, Lan Yu panicked. He had already lost a second stage true element boundary expert. If Jun Haotian were to leave as well, then all his efforts over the past few days would be wasted. Brother Jun Haotian, this is not your fault. Why do you have to leave? Lan Yu tried to get Jun Haotian to turn around. I killed Brother Lan's men, so I don't have the face to stay here. Jun Haotian's expression didn't change as he spoke in a flat tone. As he spoke, his gaze swept over the entrance of the setting sun abyss. Relying on his powerful spirit strength, Jun Haotian could clearly sense that there were 2 experts hiding at the entrance. Gu Yi and Jian Fengyan? The 2 figures flashed in Jun Haotian's mind. Apart from them, he couldn't think of anyone else with such strength. What are they doing there? Jun Haotian was surprised. Attack me? I have no enmity with them, so why would they attack me? Jun Haotian didn't believe that Gu Yi and Jian Fengyan would assassinate him for a small character like Gu Zhen. Are they hiding in the dark to observe something? Jun Haotian's mind was filled with thoughts, but then a light flashed in his mind. They are testing my strength. Thinking back to how Gu Zhen provoked him for no reason, Jun Haotian couldn't help but realize something. This guy was probably ordered by Gu Yi and Jian Fengyan to test his strength. Thinking up to here, Jun Haotian looked at Gu Zhen's corpse. This brother died with a bit of resentment. Without figuring out his strength, he challenged him for no reason. However, he didn't expect that it would arouse Jun Haotian's killing intent. Brother Vast Sky, I've already said that this isn't your fault. Gu Zhen asked for it. Jun Haotian's mind was a myriad of thoughts. Over here, Lan Yu was still earnestly persuading Jun Haotian to return. Brother Lan, there's no need to say anything more. I've already made up my mind. Thinking of the two people hiding at the entrance, Jun Haoyan suddenly had an idea. He wanted to force Gu and Jian Fengyan's as if he agreed to Jun Haoyan's request to return. Gu Yi and Jian Fengyan would probably send even stronger people to provoke Jun Haoyan and test his strength. Rather than being so passive, Jun Haoyan might as well force the two of them to reveal themselves and reveal their strength in front of them. Brother Lan, farewell. After making up his mind, Jun Haoyan lightly tapped his foot and soared into the air, heading towards the entrance of the sunset abyss. Brother Haoyan, sigh. Seeing Jun Haoyan leave decisively, Lan Yu shouted, but Jun Haoyan's speed did not slow down in the slightest. Seeing this, Lan Yu could only sigh. Jun Haoyan's speed was very fast, and in the blink of an eye, he was already above the entrance of the sunset abyss. Whoosh! At this moment Jun Haoyan's gaze focused. Suddenly, the sound of something tearing through the air came from below. A resplendent and sharp sword light suddenly attacked Jun Haoyan. Only the sword light could be heard. Proud Sword Villa's imperial sword technique. Jian Fengyan had finally made his move. This sword move. Feeling the power coming from the sword light, Jun Haoyan narrowed his eyes, and a trace of coldness flashed across his eyes. Even an ordinary true element realm 4th level martial artist would find it difficult to withstand this sword move. A true element realm 3rd level martial artist would definitely die under this sword move. Without a doubt, Jian Fengyan's sword move was meant to kill. If he could not withstand this sword move, he would definitely die. The sharp and resplendent sword light was like silver lightning, carrying a power that caused the surrounding void to tremble as it swept towards Jun Haoyan. The surging wind caused Jun Haoyan's white robe to flutter loudly. However, Jun Haoyan's face did not show any signs of panic because of the sharp sword light. Looking at the sword light indifferently, Jun Haoyan's right hand lowered slightly and pressed on the green peak ancient sword. Clang! The surging killing intent completely exploded at this moment, shaking the clouds. Clang! With the sword essence soaring to the clouds, Jun Haoyan held the green peak ancient sword in his hand. At this moment, his thin figure suddenly revealed a terrifying and majestic aura. Jun Haoyan looked indifferently at the huge sword light that was rumbling down. At the moment when the sword light was a few meters away from Jun Haoyan's head, clang! A deafening sword sound suddenly resounded in the heavens and the earth. The dim green peak ancient sword in Jun Haoyan's hand was like a surging Milky Way. Piercing through the clouds, the sword light was resplendent, and the sharp sword aura surged like a tide, outlining the sand and stones in the sky. Clang! Clang! The crisp sound of metal clashing resounded. The dim green peak ancient sword and Jian Fengyan's treasured sword constantly clashed, causing a series of sparks to fly. Ripples that could be seen with the naked eye spread out between the two. The two dazzling sword lights actually caused the martial warriors in the sunset abyss to be unable to open their eyes. They could only hear a deafening clang sound that sounded like thunder in their ears. Immediately after, an incomparably terrifying energy swept across the sky like raging waves, causing the heaven and earth within a radius of several zhang to tremble slightly. What a powerful sword intent! This person is indeed an expert. In the dark forest at the entrance of the sunset abyss, Jian Fengyan looked at the aura emitted from Jun Haoyan's body and said with an astonished expression, "Brother Jian, I already told you that Lan Yu wouldn't be wrong. You just had to test him." Hearing that, Gui curled his lips and said, "That's enough now, right? Let's go, we can't neglect this kind of expert." "No, it's not enough. It's not easy to meet such an expert in the way of the sword. If I don't spar with him, I won't be at ease." Unexpectedly, Jian Fengyan directly refused. At this moment, his eyes were staring straight at Jun Haoyan, who was in the air. His eyes filled with fighting spirit. "Brother Jianyu, unparalleled sword kinesis." Gui still wanted to say something, but Jian Fengyan directly activated the imperial sword technique of the Proud Sword Villa, controlling the treasured sword in the air. Originally, after the attack with Jun Haoyan, the resplendent sword light on the treasured sword had already disappeared, turning into a huge silver sword that floated in the air. At this moment, under the control of Jian Fengyan's imperial sword technique, The originally silent treasured sword actually turned around, and an incomparably sharp sword light once again appeared on the sword's body. The terrifyingly sharp sword light stirred up ripples in the air. Soon after, the enormous sword light brought along sword shadows that blotted out the sky and covered the earth, as they swept towards Jun Haotian's vital points like a mountain flood and tsunami. Chapter 45. Is there any end to this? Seeing that Jian Fengyan had once again activated his sword light to attack, Jun Haotian's face turned cold, and he became impatient in his heart. The ancient green peak sword danced, and the 9 tribulations sword intent on Jun Haotian's body completely erupted. Boom! A single ray of cold light pierced 10,000 fathoms. With a wave of the sword in his hand, a cold sword light immediately surged out from the ancient green peak sword. Ding! In the next moment, that incomparably sharp sword light was once again defeated by Jun Haotian. After defeating it with a single sword strike, Jun Haotian did not wait for Jian Fengyan to activate it again, and directly flew towards the two of them. Brother Jian, the proud sword villa's imperial sword technique is indeed unparalleled in the world. I have already experienced it, please show yourself. At the same time, a thunderous voice sounded out from the void. Look, I've angered him this time. Looking at Jun Haotian who was rushing down, Gui looked at Jian Fengyan with schadenfreude. This guy. It's really direct. Jian Fengyan frowned as he looked at the rapidly descending Jun Haotian. In the next moment he coldly snorted. Since he has already said so, then let's meet him. If we really fight, would the two of us still be afraid of him? With that, Jian Fengyan's figure flashed, and he directly walked out of the dark forest. TSK. Is this still the arrogant Jian Fengyan that I know? He actually took the initiative to say that he would bully others with numbers? Looking at Jian Fengyan's back, Gui said in disbelief. One had to know that even when facing Jun Haotian that day, Jian Fengyan had never said anything about the two of them fighting. Could it be that there were too many people at that time, and this guy was too embarrassed to speak up? Gui couldn't help but ridicule in his heart. With this thought in mind, Gui also slowly followed him out of the dark forest. He looked at the falling Jun Haotian and felt joy in his heart. This fellow's strength did not disappoint him. If he could convince this mysterious sword expert to join him, then dealing with Jun Haotian would be much easier. When Jun Haotian landed, Jian Fengyan was already waiting at the entrance of the sunset abyss with his hands behind his back. Brother Jian, I've heard a lot about you. Landing lightly on the ground, Jun Haotian cupped his fists towards Jian Fengyan and said, Ah. Seeing that Jun Haotian did not look like he was here to cause trouble, Jian Fengyan was stunned. When he came to his senses, he forced a smile on his usually cold face and said, Brother Haotian, you and I have been friends for a long time. I didn't expect Brother Haotian to have already comprehended sword intent at such a young age. I'm impressed. Although Jian Fengyan was arrogant, he could not help but admire Jun Haotian from the bottom of his heart when he saw that Jun Haotian had far surpassed his peers in the sword Dao. Brother Jian's sword controlling technique can be said to be exquisite beyond compare. I am also filled with admiration. Since Jian Fengyan had praised him, Jun Haotian naturally wouldn't be stingy with his words. Ha ha ha. You two really don't know each other unless you fight. At this time, Gui also arrived late. Seeing that the two of them did not have a conflict, he could not help but feel relieved. Then, when he heard the conversation between the two, he laughed out loud. Brother Gu, I've heard a lot about you. Seeing Gui, Jun Haotian was neither servile nor overbearing, and still cupped his fists slightly. Haha, Brother Jun Haotian, I've been waiting for you for a few days. Gui walked over and patted Jun Haotian's shoulder as if he was familiar with him. Don't mind those 2 sword strikes from Brother Jian just now. This guy's hands are just itchy. Seeing an expert like you, he couldn't help but exchange blows with you. Gui had a smile on his face as he explained what had happened just now, giving Jian Fengyan a way out. Brother Haotian, please don't blame me. Jian Fengyan naturally followed the steps and apologized to Jun Haotian. Brother Jian is too serious. Jun Haotian's expression did not seem to care as he said indifferently. Alright Brother Jun Haotian, I've already ordered someone to set up a banquet. Today, the three of us will drink to our heart's content. Gui enthusiastically pulled Jun Haotian and slowly walked into the sunset abyss. When Jun Haotian entered the sunset abyss once again, Gu Zhen's corpse had already disappeared. It was obvious that Lan Yu had sent people to deal with it. The three of them also tacitly shut their mouths and did not talk about the ancient town. Brother Gu, Brother Jian. Senior Brother Gu, Senior Brother Jian. The moment Gu Yi and Jian Fengyan entered the sunset abyss, there were people who came forward to greet them one after another. A moment later, Gui led Jun Haotian to a row of seats inside. There, several strong martial warriors were drinking to their heart's content. Jun Haotian sensed that these people were all at the second level of the true element stage. It was obvious that Gu Yi had gathered all the experts in the sunset abyss here. Brother Gu, Brother Jian is here. Seeing Gu Yi and Jian Fengyan arrive, everyone looked at the two of them. When they saw Jun Haotian standing beside the two of them with a bronze mask on his face, a strange look flashed across their eyes. Everyone, let me introduce you. This is my brother Haotian. In front of everyone, Gu Yi introduced Jun Haotian without any scruples. Hearing this, the group of experts all looked at Jun Haotian with astonishment in their eyes. Gu Yi's attitude towards Jun Haotian was too warm, wasn't it? Let me tell you, my brother's strength is not ordinary. When he fought with Brother Jian just now, he was not at a disadvantage at all. You must not be careless. Seeing the strange look in everyone's eyes, Gu Yi immediately warned. When Gu Yi said that, everyone looked at Jun Haotian in disbelief. Strength not weaker than Jian Fengyan? There was actually such an expert in the ruins? Come, Brother Haotian, let me introduce you to another expert. Suddenly thinking of something, Gu Yi ignored the crowd and pulled Jun Haotian to a seat. This seat was different from the other seats. There was only one fatty sitting on it. Looking at the fatty on the seat, Jun Haotian was surprised. This fatty was actually a martial artist at the third level of the true element realm. When Gu Yi brought Jun Haotian to the fatty's seat, the fatty was engrossed in eating. He was immersed in a pile of delicacies, and his mouth was covered in oil. Brother Pang. Seeing that the fatty did not react for a long time, Gu Yi could not help but remind him. Oh, Brother Gu, you're here. Hearing the voice, the fatty raised his head. When he saw Gu Yi, his eyes lit up and he said enthusiastically, Brother Gu, let's eat together. Don't stand on ceremony. As he spoke, he prepared to pull Gu Yi with his oily hands. Seeing that, Gu Yi quietly took a step back, dodging the fatty's fat hand. Brother Haotian, this is Pang Bo, Brother Pang. Gu Yi introduced him to Jun Haotian. Before Brother Pang entered the ruins, he was only at the first level of the true element realm, but he was lucky enough to obtain a spirit fruit of heaven and earth. He directly crossed 2 levels and broke through to the third level of the true element realm. Hearing this, Jun Haotian could not help but look at Fatty Pang Bo in surprise. This guy's luck was actually so good? Wait, Fatty, good luck. For some reason, Jun Haotian suddenly felt a sense of familiarity. This guy couldn't be related to Jun Aotian, right? Jun Haotian looked at Pang Bo suspiciously. After all, every main character had a fat brother by their side. Chapter 46. Come Brother Hao, cheers. Come Brother Gu. Within the sunset abyss, the bonfire was brightly lit. At a seat in the center of the canyon, Jun Haotian, Gu Yi, and Jian Fengyan were exchanging toasts, and the atmosphere gradually became lively. Brother Haotian, I invited you to the sunset abyss because I have a big matter to cooperate with you. After drinking for half a round, Gu Yi looked at Jun Haotian and went straight to the point. Oh, hearing this, Jun Haotian placed a piece of vicious beast meat into his mouth and said indifferently, May I ask what kind of big matter it is? Brother Gu, please tell me in detail. After entering the ruins, he had never eaten before, and his mouth could be said to be bland. Although it didn't matter if one didn't eat for 10 days, or half a month after breaking through to the true element realm, most martial warriors still couldn't help but have a desire for food. Jun Haotian was no exception. Moreover, Eating the meat of powerful vicious beasts was also beneficial to a martial warrior's cultivation. Brother Haotian's goal in entering the ruins this time is definitely the same as ours. It's all for the inheritance and treasures in the ancient ruins, Gui said with a smile as he raised his wine cup. Of course. Hearing this, Jun Haotian first glanced at Gui, then chuckled and said meaningfully, "If I say that I am not tempted by the inheritance and treasures left behind by the ancient experts, you will definitely think that I am hypocritical." Haha, Brother Haotian must be joking. Hearing Jun Haotian's words, Gui was stunned for a moment, then laughed out loud. Since that's the case, our goal can be said to be the same. However, if we want to obtain these, we still need to get rid of a great enemy. At this point, Gui's tone suddenly paused as he spoke with a serious expression. Great enemy. Jun Haotian naturally knew who Gui was referring to, but this did not stop him from pretending to be stupid. What great enemy? Could it be that there is someone stronger than Brother Gu and Brother Jian? Hearing this, Gui's face immediately became gloomy. At the entrance of the ruins, Brother Haotian should have seen Jun Haotian, right? Jian Fengyan said with an ugly expression. I invited Brother Haotian here to deal with this person. You're referring to Jun Haotian, the core disciple of the Green Cloud Holy Ground. Jun Haotian's tone was filled with shock and fear. It seems that Brother Haotian is also paying attention to Jun Haotian. Seeing Jun Haotian's expression, Gui slowly opened his mouth and said, That's right, the great enemy I'm talking about is Jun Haotian. Gui's tone carried a hint of unwillingness. As a genius disciple of the Nether sect, he had secretly colluded with others to deal with Jun Haotian. Brother Haotian, you must have felt Jun Haotian's strength at the entrance of the ruins. After pondering for a moment, Gui finally recognized himself and said, In terms of fighting one-on-one, none of the three of us can defeat him. What Brother Gu means is, let's deal with Jun Haotian together. Since Gui had spoken so straightforwardly, Jun Haotian could not continue to pretend to be stupid and spoke bluntly. That's right. If we want to obtain the inheritance and treasures of the ruins, we must get rid of Jun Haotian. Gui fiercely drank a cup of wine and said with a trace of viciousness in his tone. Originally, when Brother Jian and I teamed up, we already had a 50% chance of defeating Jun Haotian. Now that Brother Haotian has joined us, I can guarantee that Jun Haotian will definitely lose this battle. Moreover, we have so many experts to help us. As he spoke, Gui looked at Pang Bo and the others. Although these people weren't very strong, they could at least cause some interference to Jun Haotian. Since that's the case, I can join. After Gui finished speaking, Jun Haotian pondered for a moment before agreeing. Since Gui had already revealed all of his plans, he had no other choice. Jun Haotian concluded that if he rejected this matter, Gui and Jian Fengyan would definitely not let him leave. Hearing this, a trace of joy flashed across Gui and Jian Fengyan's faces. However, may I ask Brother Gu, how should we split the inheritance and treasures of the ruins? However, Jun Haotian paused for a moment before speaking again. When Jun Haotian said this, Gui and Jian Fengyan's expressions immediately changed. Ha ha ha, Haotian is truly a straightforward person. A moment later, Gui said, Even though Brother Gu, Brother Jian, and I feel like old friends at first sight, we still have to make things clear first, so as to not damage our relationship when the time comes. Jun Haotian's expression did not change, and there was a smile on his face from beginning to end. Brother Haotian is right. At this time Jian Fengyan, who had always remained silent, said, How about this? After obtaining the inheritance of the ruins, the three of us will each have 3 levels, and the remaining level will be divided among the brothers. As he spoke, Jian Fengyan looked at Pang Bo and the others. When Pang Bo and the others heard this, they were immediately excited. They never thought that they would have a share in the inheritance and treasures of the ruins. Brother Haotian, do you think what Brother Jian said is feasible? At this time, Gui looked at Jun Haotian and said calmly, Very good. Jun Haotian nodded, suddenly raised his wine cup, and said to Gui and Jian Fengyan, Then I will first wish us a happy cooperation. Ha ha, good happy cooperation. When Gui and Jian Fengyan saw this, They also laughed heartily and raised their wine cups. Senior Brother Gu, this is bad. At this moment, a disciple of the Nether sect hurriedly ran over with a panicked expression on his face. What's the matter? Why are you making such a ruckus? Seeing this, Gu Yi's face turned cold as he shouted angrily. Seeing that there were many people around, the disciple of the Nether sect immediately ran to Gu Yi's side and said something in a low voice. What? It was unknown what the disciple of the Nether sect said, but in the next moment, Gu Yi's expression changed drastically. After that, Gu Yi sent a sound transmission to Jian Fengyan with a gloomy expression, and Jian Fengyan's expression also changed drastically. Brother Haoyan, we have urgent matters to attend to. Please forgive us for leaving for a moment. A moment later, Gu Yi and Jian Fengyan apologized to Jun Haoyan. Brother Gu, what's the urgent matter? Do you need my help? Hearing this, Jun Haoyan raised his eyebrows and said with a somewhat enthusiastic expression. With Gu Yi and Jian Fengyan's expressions, they must have discovered something. Right now we are partners. Please don't treat us as outsiders. Jun Haoyan acted as if you don't call me, you don't treat me as a brother. Haha, if I have something to do, I will definitely not be courteous with Brother Haoyan. Gu Yi's expression changed, and then he pretended to be relaxed. However, this is a private matter of Gu Yi. It is not convenient for Brother Haoyan to participate. Brother Jian, let's go. After saying that, Gu Yi said to Jian Fengyan. Brother Jun Haoyan, drink first. We'll be back soon. Jian Fengyan cupped his fists towards Jun Haoyan, then flew into the air with Gu Yi. These two fellows must have some kind of secret. Seeing the two of them so impatient, Jun Haoyan guessed in his heart. Chapter 47. Hey Brother Pang. Why do you think Brother Gu and Brother Jian left in such a hurry? After Gu Yi and Jian Fengyan left, Jun Haoyan walked to Pang Bo's seat and asked bluntly. This fatty had been in the setting sun abyss for so long, he might know something. How would I know? Pang Bo saw Jun Haoyan coming over and raised his head to look at Jun Haoyan, his mouth full of oil. Then, has anything big happened here recently? After thinking for a while, Jun Haoyan asked again. Something big? Hearing this, Pang Bo was startled for a moment, then said excitedly. Yes, the princess of the Great Yin Empire, Naylan Shuer, is not a big deal. Jun Haoyan saw that when he mentioned Naylan Shuer, the fatty's saliva was flowing out of the corner of his mouth. Naylan Shuer, what does it have to do with Naylan Shuer? When Jun Haoyan heard this, a strange expression flashed across his face. Naylan Shuer is trapped in the Netherworld Lake, Pang Bo said bluntly. Netherworld Lake. Come, let me tell you in detail. A moment later, Pang Bo told Jun Haoyan everything that had happened. Netherworld Lake. After hearing what Pang Bo had said, Jun Haoyan had already roughly guessed why Gu Yi and Jian Fengyan had left in such a hurry. Brother Pang, I'll go see what the beauty you speak of looks like. With that, Jun Haoyan lightly tapped his feet and chased after Gu Yi and Jian Fengyan. 5 miles away from the Netherworld Lake. Boom! Here, waves of berserk true essence fluctuations wreaked havoc like a flood. As it crashed into the surrounding forest, a deafening clanging sound rang out. And in the center of this fluctuation, there were two figures that crossed each other. The speed of these two figures was incomparably terrifying. They were like lightning, and in the blink of an eye, they left behind afterimages in the air. Naylan Shuer, you are not my match. You should obediently surrender. A moment later, a hearty laughter rang out in the air. Among the two figures fighting, a figure suddenly soared into the sky and stood in the air. Boundless and vigorous Zhen Qi swept out from his body. It was Gu Yi. It lingered around him. Soon after, his hands formed a yuan seal, causing the true yuan that permeated the horizon to become berserk. Finally, it formed a black stone tablet illusory figure that was at least 10 feet long in front of him. A monstrous baleful aura spread over it. Netherworld Devil Steel. Gu Yi held onto the black stone tablet, his face full of confidence. The Nether Devil Steel was an origin item that only the disciples of the Nether sect possessed. In the Nether sect, only a genius like him was qualified to possess it. You want me to surrender? Impossible. Below, Nalan Shui-Er's body was emitting the aura of the second level of the true element realm, as she looked at Gu Yi with a cold expression. Looks like you still don't understand your current situation. Gu Yi clenched his hand, and the black stone tablet that seemed to be solid directly fell towards Nalan Shui-Er. Boom! A terrifying pressure permeated the air like a heavy mountain. Whoosh! 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 However, just as the giant stone tablet was about to arrive, streaks of golden spear shadows tore out from Nalan Shui-Er's hands like waterfalls. An unparalleled aura spread out from these spear shadows, heavily landing on the black stone tablet. Clang! Suddenly, the sound of metal clashing rang out. Immediately after, a visible energy wave swept out, and the densely packed golden spear shadows and the giant stone tablet were annihilated at the same time. When the spear shadows dissipated, an exquisite face covered in frost appeared in Gu Yi's line of sight. That bone-piercing killing intent rippled between her eyebrows like ink, causing one's heart to palpitate. However, this frown was like a scenery in Gu Yi's eyes. He met this cold gaze and chuckled. Nalan Shui-Er, after leaving the Netherworld Lake, you won't be able to escape this time, right? Hearing this, Nalan Shui-Er tightly gripped the golden spear in her hand. Her bright and beautiful eyes were filled with a biting cold killing intent. She said coldly, "You let me out on purpose? Hee on the Netherworld Lake we can't catch you." Hearing this, Jian Fengyun crossed his arms over his chest and expressionlessly looked at Nalan Shui-Er, who was stubbornly resisting. The corner of his mouth revealed a disdainful smile. A biting cold killing intent seeped out from the tip of the sword, causing the surrounding air to suddenly drop. What is it? Could it be that Brother Jian wants to destroy a flower? I've already said this, Nalan Shui-Er, this beauty has to be kept for me. The moment this killing intent appeared, Gu Yi's voice rang out. His gaze wandered over Nalan Shui-Er's delicate body, and a trace of heat flashed across his eyes. Princess Nalan, Brother Jian is not as protective of the fairer sex as I am. He has done a lot of things to ruthlessly destroy flowers. You should just surrender. Gu Yi looked at Nalan Shui-Er and said with a face full of ridicule. Since Nalan Shui-Er had left the Netherworld Lake, she wouldn't be able to escape from his five-finger mountain. Wishful thinking. Seeing the filthy light in Gu Yi's eyes, Nalan Shui-Er's expression turned cold as she said with an ice-cold tone. That's not up to you. Hearing this, Gu Yi's face turned cold, and his tone was extremely domineering. As soon as he finished speaking, Gu Yi tapped the tip of his foot, and his figure appeared in front of Nalan Shui-Er as fast as lightning. His hands were holding two enormous phantoms of the Nether Devil steel, and a monstrous baleful aura lingered on them. Gu Yi kept saying that he was protective of the fairer sex, but at this time, he did not hesitate to press towards Nalan Shui-Er. The phantoms of the Nether Devil steel immediately smashed towards Nalan Shui-Er. Seeing this, Nalan Shui-Er suddenly raised her jade-like hand. Profound heart palm. Her slender palm flickered with a crystalline luster at this moment, bringing along surging true energy, as it directly pressed down on the void. A boundless and majestic energy gushed out from the center of her palm, brazenly colliding with the Netherworld Devil Steel shadow that was rumbling towards her. However, no matter how majestic this power was, it was unable to block the arrival of the phantoms of the Nether Devil Steel. In the next moment, the phantoms of the Nether Devil Steel brazenly collided with Nalan Shui-Er's palm. Nalan Shui-Er's delicate body shook, and a trace of bright red quickly appeared at the corner of her mouth. Her entire body also swayed as she shot backwards. Although she relied on the secret technique of her previous life to forcefully raise her strength to the second level of the true element realm, she was still unable to withstand a single blow from a genius like Gu Yi. When Nalan Shui-Er's body shot backwards, the phantoms of the Nether Devil steel in the void once again shot towards Nalan Shui-Er. Nalan Shui-Er's silver teeth were tightly clenched. She clearly understood the consequences of falling into Gu Yi's hands. At this moment, almost without any hesitation, she wanted to ignite the true essence within her body. However, the moment she ignited her true essence, a sharp and hurried sound of breaking wind resounded from behind her. Following that, An incomparably domineering voice rang out in the void. Gu Yi Jianfengyan. The two of you are really shameless, actually joining hands to bully a woman. Chapter 48. The thunderous voice was still echoing in the void when a domineering figure stepped through the air. As the figure descended, the entire void became somewhat oppressive. Junaoyan. Seeing the person who came, Gu Yi and Jianfengyan's expressions changed drastically and became extremely gloomy. Nalan Shui. Er's face also became a little pale. Today it would be difficult to escape calamity. The person who came was Junaoyan. Why, haven't you been looking for me? In the void, Junaoyan's wide purple robe fluttered in the wind, and he was extremely domineering. With a trace of ridicule at the corner of his mouth, Junaoyan looked at Gu Yi and Jianfengyan arrogantly and said, "Now that I've taken the initiative to appear, you guys look a little unhappy? Junaoyan, you finally dare to appear." Jianfengyan's eyes flashed with a cold light, and he subconsciously tightened his grip on the sword in his hand. Junaoyan, there's a path to heaven, but you don't want to take it. Today you can forget about leaving here alive. Gu Yi pulled the netherworld devil steel, and said with a cold smile on his face. Junaoyan's appearance was indeed somewhat unexpected, but it was also a good opportunity to get rid of Junaoyan. After saying that, Gu Yi secretly sent a voice transmission to a nether sect disciple not far away. "Li Hao, quickly inform Brother Hao Tian that Pang Bo and the others are coming. Remember to be quick." Hearing that, Li Hao nodded and quickly disappeared into the dark forest. "Since I'm here today, then there must be an outcome to this matter." Hearing that, Junaoyan's face still had a trace of arrogance. "In short, today, only one of us can leave here alive." The moment Junaoyan's words came out, the atmosphere became a little heavy. "Nalan Shui, long time no see. How have you been?" After Junaoyan finished speaking, he looked at Nalan Shui. Looking at the battered and pale Nalan Shui below, a trace of satisfaction flashed in Junaoyan's eyes. "Proud Princess Nalan, your current situation doesn't seem too good." Junaoyan. Nalan Shui's beautiful eyes looked at the insufferably arrogant Junaoyan in the void, and her gaze was incomparably complicated. That day she was just like Junaoyan, with an incomparably arrogant and condescending attitude. He domineeringly went to the Jun family to annul the engagement between the two. Who would have thought that the person who had innately crippled meridians and was unable to cultivate back then was actually a trash? Now he actually had such achievements. Nalan Shui felt some regret in her heart. Had she gone too far back then? However, the scene of the Great Yin Empire being destroyed by Junaoyan in her previous life flashed across Nalan Shui's mind, and an extreme killing intent suddenly ignited in her heart. In this life, he absolutely could not let that scene happen again. In this life, he had to defeat Junaoyan. Thinking of this, Nalan Shui suddenly had a strong desire to live. "Nalan Shui, the 3-year agreement is coming. With your current strength, how can you fight me?" Looking at the silent Nalan Shui, Junaoyan thought she was embarrassed. He sneered and said, "Back then, I swore that I would make you pay 100 times, no, 1,000 times for the shame of breaking off the engagement. Just you wait. That day is not far away," Junaoyan said confidently with a smile on his face. At today's level, a mere Great Yin Empire was no longer in his eyes. "I will not let you have your way." Feeling the coldness in Junaoyan's words, Nalan Shui suddenly raised her head and said in an incomparably firm tone, "Humph. Then let's wait and see." Junaoyan snorted coldly. Then, he thought of something and looked directly at Nalan Shui. His tone was threatening as he said, "Hand over the treasure you obtained at the bottom of the underworld lake. I can let you go." As for the 3-year agreement, he was already sure to win. For that day, he did not know how much he had suffered. At this moment, he naturally did not want Nalan Shui to die prematurely. On that day, he had to return all the humiliation he had suffered to Nalan Shui. Hearing this, Nalan Shui once again fell silent. She bit her red lips, and her heart was filled with despair. She definitely could not hand over the netherworld fire. It was her only hope of defeating Junaoyan. "What? You're unwilling?" Seeing that Nailan Shui had become silent again, Jun Outyan's face suddenly darkened. His tone was incomparably cold. If you don't hand over the treasure, then don't blame me for ignoring the 3-year agreement and killing you in advance. As Jun Outyan spoke, an oppressive aura suddenly enveloped Nailan Shui, making it difficult for her to breathe. Nailan Shui, don't listen to him. When Gu Yi and Jian Fengyan saw that Jun Outyan actually knew that Nailan Shui had a treasure on her, they couldn't help but feel anxious. If you give the treasure to him, it's equivalent to increasing his strength in disguise. Then you'll definitely lose the 3-year agreement. Gu Yi advised Nailan Shui. He was also very worried that Nailan Shui would give the treasure to Jun Outyan. The current Jun Outyan was not someone they could deal with. If Jun Outyan were to obtain another treasure, then they would have no hope at all. Nailan Shui, give us the treasure. We can help you deal with Jun Outyan. Jian Fengyan could not help but speak coldly. Nailan Shui, you'd better think carefully before making a decision. Don't regret it for the rest of your life. Jun Outyan stared coldly at Nailan Shui. As long as Nailan Shui made the slightest move, he would not show any mercy. All right. Facing the threat of 3 days, Nailan Shui's face was deathly pale, and her expression was somewhat helpless. I'll just give you the treasure. A moment later, Nailan Shui finally made a decision in her heart. She slowly took out a black bead, pinched the water avoidance bead, and presented it in front of Jun Outyan and Gu Yi. This is the treasure you obtained? Jun Outyan stared at the water avoidance bead in Nailan Shui's hand. His eyes flashed with a trace of heat as he spoke coldly. That's right. If you want this treasure, then go and snatch it. Nailan Shui's face was filled with determination. The moment she finished speaking, Nailan Shui threw the water avoidance bead in the direction of the Netherworld Lake, while she immediately rushed towards the depths of the forest in the opposite direction. On the other side, Jun Outyan and Gu Yi flew towards the direction of the water avoidance bead at an extremely fast speed. In order to prevent Gu Yi and the others from chasing after them, Nailan Shui even used a secret technique. Her speed suddenly increased, and in the blink of an eye, Nailan Shui successfully entered the forest. Princess Nailan. Just as she entered the forest, a familiar voice suddenly sounded in Nailan Shui's ears. Hearing this voice, Nailan Shui was shocked. She subconsciously slowed down and looked towards the direction of the voice. It's you, Outyan. Chapter 49. Princess Nailan, how have you been? In the dark forest, Jun Outyan, who was dressed in white and wearing a bronze mask, looked at Nailan Shui with interest. Outyan, why are you here? Seeing Jun Outyan, Nailan Shui was overjoyed at first, but then a trace of vigilance flashed across her eyes. The timing of Jun Outyan's appearance was too coincidental, and she couldn't help but suspect his intentions. The nether profound fire was too important to her, and she absolutely could not afford to lose it. It's a long story. I'll tell you in detail later. Hearing this, Jun Outyan chuckled. Seeing the vigilance in Nailan Shui's eyes, Jun Outyan couldn't help but laugh. What? Are you afraid that I'll make a move on you? If I wanted to make a move on you, I wouldn't have taken the initiative to appear just now. Hearing this, Nailan Shui also reacted. With his current state, if Jun Outyan had launched a sneak attack earlier, he would have undoubtedly lost. I'm sorry. Thinking of this, Nailan Shui's face flushed red as she said embarrassedly. I can understand your current state of mind. Jun Outyan shook his head, as if he didn't care at all. Nailan Shui had been trapped in the Netherworld Lake for so long, and now that she had finally escaped, her nerves were naturally tense. Right, let's hurry up and leave. Jun Outyan and Gu Yi could catch up at any time. Nailan Shui suddenly remembered that she was still in danger, so she hurriedly pulled Jun Outyan and prepared to escape. Go. Why are you leaving? However, Jun Outyan decisively refused with a devilish smile on his face. Now that they're fighting each other, it's our best chance. Chance. Hearing this, Nailan Shui was stunned. When she reacted, her beautiful eyes stared at Jun Outyan as she said in disbelief. You can't be thinking? What, you don't dare? No. I'm worried. Nalan Shuer shook her head and explained, "Are you worried that I'm not strong enough?" Jun Haoyan naturally knew what Nalan Shuer meant. With a confident smile on his face, Jun Haoyan said indifferently, "Perhaps you underestimate me too much." In the next moment, an extremely powerful aura gushed out from Jun Haoyan's body. "You." Feeling this aura, Nalan Shuer was shocked. She looked at Jun Haoyan in disbelief. "You're actually a martial artist at the 3rd level of the true element realm. Now I have the strength to reap the benefits." Jun Haoyan looked at the shocked Nalan Shuer, with a mocking expression. "Let's go. The battle over there seems to have begun. It's time for the show to start." As Jun Haoyan spoke, he withdrew his aura and quickly approached Jun Haoyan and the other two. Nalan Shuer looked at Jun Haoyan's back and pondered for a moment. She bit her red lips and finally followed him. Ha ha ha, I still got the treasure in the end." In the air around the Netherworld Lake, Jun Haoyan held the water avoidance pearl in his hand and laughed arrogantly. Opposite him, Gu Yi and Jian Fengyan stared at him with ugly expressions. "What? From the looks of it, you guys don't seem to be convinced." Seeing Gu Yi and Jian Fengyan's ugly expressions, Jun Haoyan laughed instead. With a trace of ridicule, he said, "Where did these two losers get the courage to provoke me? They really don't know the immensity of heaven and earth. Jun Haoyan, you're courting death." Hearing this, Jian Fengyan, who had always been proud and arrogant, could not hold it in any longer. In the next moment, the sword in his hand was unsheathed. The true essence in his body surged and traces of sword chi revolved around it. "Humph! You overestimate yourself." Jun Haoyan stared at Su Bai with an extremely cold gaze. The indifference on his face had completely disappeared. The corner of his mouth lifted slightly, revealing a sneer. Then he slowly walked out. As Jun Haoyan took a step forward, the aura in his body exploded without reservation, causing the entire space to tremble. Everyone's faces changed drastically under this aura fluctuation, including Gu Yi and Jian Fengyan. This aura fluctuation had already surpassed the ordinary 4th level of the true element realm. It had vaguely reached the peak of the 4th level of the true element realm. The moment Jun Haoyan's voice sounded out, the space around him suddenly distorted, and his body dissipated like green smoke. Seeing this, Jian Fengyan's pupils constricted. The true essence in his body instantly went berserk, and an extremely sharp sword light condensed. In the next moment, a terrifying storm of sword chi wreaked havoc in the air. In the sky above Jian Fengyan, a figure flashed like a ghost. Immediately after, a palm print containing powerful true essence was condensed and blasted towards the storm of sword chi below. Boom! The storm of sword chi that had just formed could not stop the palm print at all. It collapsed and was destroyed. Boom! An incomparably violent energy fluctuation swept out in the air. The wind is bleak, and the water is cold. In the next moment, the sword in Jian Fengyan's hand suddenly flew out, and the imperial sword technique was displayed. In an instant, the entire world seemed to have turned cold. A faint sword intent spread out. This was a trace of sword intent that Jian Fengyan had comprehended. Facing an opponent like Jun Haoyan, Jian Fengyan had finally used his trump card. In the next moment, a dazzling sword light tore through the void and appeared in front of Jun Haoyan in an instant, piercing through him. However, when the sword light pierced through the figure, it did not bring about any blood. The figure once again dissipated like green smoke. An afterimage? Seeing this, Jian Fengyan felt uneasy, and his body quickly retreated. Bang! However, at the instant Jian Fengyan's figure retreated explosively, a ghostly figure shot out explosively. Looking at Jian Fengyan, who was close at hand, Jun Haoyan smiled coldly and threw out a punch. The true essence in his body surged out like a surging ocean, and it blasted towards Jian Fengyan in an earth-shattering manner. His cultivation at the peak of the 4th level of true essence was fully displayed in this punch. This punch was enough to defeat an ordinary martial artist at the peak of the 4th level of true essence. The violent fist carried with it a power capable of destroying the world. Wherever it went, ripples would appear in space. It was incredibly vicious as it continuously magnified before Jian Fengyan's eyes. Jian Fengyan was unable to dodge in time. Jian Fengyan could only raise his fist to meet it. His palm seemed to have turned into a well-tempered sword blade, and his fist was like a sword peak. It blasted out and collided with Zhu Naoyan's fist. Bang! The moment the two fists collided, a deep sound suddenly exploded. A shockwave that was visible to the naked eye spread out, and the area within a radius of several hundred feet was set off monstrous ripples. This kind of impact caused the surrounding spectators to tremble in fear. Staring at the two figures in the void, they could not imagine how terrifying the power contained in this punch was. Jian Fengyan felt as if his punch had landed on a towering mountain. Whether it was his fist or his arm, he could feel the pain spreading. If his bones had not been tempered by the medicinal liquid since he was young, his bones would have shattered under this impact. Chapter 50. I didn't expect your physical body to be so good. However, that's all. Zhu Naoyan's eyes flashed with surprise when he saw that Jian Fengyan had actually taken his punch. In the next moment, the power contained in Zhu Naoyan's fist exploded out once again. It was like a wave, wave after wave, each wave stronger than the last. With Jian Fengyan's physical body, he could barely withstand Zhu Naoyan's punch. At this moment, Zhu Naoyan suddenly increased his strength, causing him to be unable to withstand it. In the next moment, his body was sent several meters away by Zhu Naoyan's punch. There was a sweet taste in his throat, and he couldn't help but spit out a mouthful of blood. After Jian Fengyan was sent flying, Zhu Naoyan didn't choose to pursue. Instead, he retreated more than 10 meters. Just as Zhu Naoyan retreated, a sharp sound of wind breaking rang out from the void. In the next moment, a huge black stone tablet descended from the sky, bringing with it an incomparably terrifying power, as it landed where he was previously. If Zhu Naoyan had continued to pursue, this terrifying attack would have directly landed on Zhu Naoyan's body. The one who attacked was naturally Gu Yi. Seeing that Jian Fengyan was in danger, he decisively chose to attack. Whoosh! Gu Yi stepped into the void. Seeing that his attack had missed, he struck out a series of hand seals with both hands. Immediately, violent true essence surged into his palm. In the next moment, he sucked in the direction of the nether devil steel, and the nether devil steel turned into a ray of black light and returned to his hand. Come, the two of you attack together. I, Zhu Naoyan, have nothing to fear. Seeing that Gu Yi had also joined the battlefield, Zhu Naoyan was not afraid at all and said arrogantly, Zhu Naoyan, aren't you too arrogant? Seeing this, Gu Yi's face darkened. As soon as he finished speaking, he crazily activated the nether devil steel in his hand. Immediately, it formed a huge illusory stone tablet. Baleful aura surged as it pressed down on Zhu Naoyan. Insignificant skill. Zhu Naoyan looked indifferently at Gu Yi, who had made his move. His eyes reflected the attacks that filled the sky, and a sinister smile appeared on his face. An indescribable baleful aura swept out from his body. As Zhu Naoyan spoke, his fist shot out with a monstrous baleful aura. Immediately, the surrounding space distorted as the yuan qi in the air dispersed. Even though they were far away, everyone could feel how overbearing and terrifying Zhu Naoyan's punch was. Clang! With a loud boom, Zhu Naoyan's fist landed on the black monolith. The mountain-like monolith was sent flying. The violent yuan qi impact wreaked havoc, and the stone tablet immediately collapsed. With just this bit of strength, you want to make a move on the ruins? How laughable! Zhu Naoyan laughed wildly. He waved his right fist again, wanting to kill Gu Yi with his fist. However, at this moment, a beam of sword light broke through the void and bloomed with thousands of rays of light. The cold sword intent froze the void, and the snowflakes fell on Zhu Naoyan's fist. At the moment of collision, the sound of metal clashing resounded in the void. A circle of terrifying ripples swept out between the two. Zhu Naoyan frowned, and an incomparably terrifying sword intent tore apart his body. Dazzling bloodstains immediately appeared on Zhu Naoyan's fist. Blood flowed out, and he immediately retreated. However, as Zhu Naoyan retreated, a dazzling sword light immediately tore out. The clothes on Zhu Naoyan's chest were torn apart, and a fine sword mark quickly appeared on his chest. A faint trace of blood appeared. I was careless. Zhu Naoyan retreated dozens of feet. Only now did he clearly see the sword light that flashed past. A dazzling, profound, ice-cold sword with a series of blood flowers swaying down, poignant and cold. Looking at the blood dripping from the sword peak, a trace of regret appeared in Jian Fingyun's eyes. Jun Aoyin's physical body was too strong. Very good, it's finally interesting. I didn't plan to reveal all of my strength. A rare trace of seriousness appeared in Jun Aoyin's usually deathly still eyes, but it was more of ridicule. His body suddenly shook, and the essence energy between heaven and earth began to churn violently, pouring into Jun Aoyin's body like a tide. Streams of black and white yin and yang energy surged out from Jun Aoyin's body, instantly enveloping his body, causing him to look like a devil god. These changes were completed in an instant, and the surrounding martial warriors all revealed serious expressions. They could clearly sense that Jun Aoyin's aura had actually soared, and he had vaguely broken through to the 5th level of the true element realm. What a powerful aura! This is at least the strength of the 5th level of the true element realm. Jun Aoyin and Gu Yi's astonishing battle had long attracted the surrounding martial warriors. At this moment, they were all focused on the battle between the three of them. Seeing Jun Aoyin erupt with such strength, cries of alarm immediately filled the air. Most of the martial warriors were amazed by Jun Aoyin's strength. In the air, the space where Jun Aoyin was had already completely shaken. Jun Aoyin condensed a yin-yang origin seal, and then threw it into the air. Immediately, the true essence in his body surged out like a tsunami, winding and coiling around, releasing a monstrous baleful aura. In the next moment, a huge Taiji 8 trigram seal condensed in the air. Suppress it for me, Jun Aoyin roared, and a shocking yin and yang light beam shot out from the Taiji 8 trigram seal, sweeping towards Gu Yi at an extremely fast speed. Not good, the netherworld barrier. Seeing this, Gu Yi was shocked. He activated the netherworld devil steel, and a black baleful aura appeared around Gu Yi's body. In the next moment, the yin-yang light beam directly collided with the netherworld barrier. Bang! An earth-shattering sound rippled out from the void. The aura was monstrous, and the netherworld barrier, which was like a devil's nest, dimmed. Gu Yi's body seemed to have suffered a heavy blow as he was sent flying dozens of feet away. Be careful, Jian Fengyin reminded him. However, just as Jian Fengyin's voice rang out, a purple figure tore through the void as fast as lightning, and a ferocious fist print flew towards Jian Fengyin. Protective sword aura. Jian Fengyin was already prepared, and a net of sword chi immediately appeared around Jian Fengyin. Break! Jun Aoyin pressed forward, ignoring Jian Fengyin's sword aura. In the next moment, the ferocious fist shadow had already landed on Jian Fengyin's sword aura. Bang! At this moment, Jian Fengyin's protective sword aura was forcefully shattered by Jun Aoyin's punch. After defeating Jian Fengyin with a single punch, Jun Aoyin did not choose to continue his attack. In the next moment, his figure retreated more than 10 meters. The surrounding martial warriors were shocked as they looked at the figure that retreated once again, their hearts filled with shock. At this moment, a huge black stone tablet descended from the sky with a monstrous baleful aura and an overwhelming pressure. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Sword of Destiny YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.